2008, the JSW, the Times of India Earth Care Awards, is a pivotal platform for the recognition of those visionaries and innovators who are responding to the adversities of climate change. This platform developed the awards into a prominent forum for recognizing green innovations from the industries, government bodies, non-government entities, and individuals. This, the 12th edition of the awards, is all set to highlight even more impactful, scalable, and innovative solutions that are responding to the challenges posed by the climate change. With this brief about the awards, I once again welcome you all to the second series panel discussion on resilient futures, community-led strategies, climate change. Today, we aim to bring together the policymakers, the sustainability experts in you, the community leaders who you all are, and the stakeholders to discuss, collaborate on enhancing community resilience in the face of climate change. Amongst us, we are grateful to have many dignitaries who have been truly instrumental in the field of community-led programs and initiatives. Now, we chose Hyderabad for this discussion as the southern zone of India, in particularly vulnerable, facing all the hydrometeorological disasters, floods, droughts, cyclones, and their compounding impacts. Coastal Andhra Pradesh is highly susceptible to cyclones. Inland regions of Telangana have experienced severe droughts, and the recent floods and the heat waves in the region of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh have been reinforcing the urgent need for building resilience at the community level. So, ladies and gentlemen, the challenge is not far away. It is there, and we are going through it. But truly recognizing the leaders amongst you is an honor for each one of us. And now, to commence this day's proceeding, can we all put our hands together and invite Rupa Davane, Head Water Environment and Sanitation, JSW Foundation, to deliver the welcome address and set the context for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Rupa Davane ji.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. She brings so much energy in the room. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. I'm just going to give you, though Jyoti has briefed us what the awards are about, I'm just going to take you through the whole process and how we started, why we started the awards. In fact, I can see a lot of stalwarts here who have been with the awards. We have Dr. Varni, who is our jury member. There's a lot that's gone ahead. I would just give you a brief. As she said, JSW, Times of India came together and they collaborated to start this whole initiative in 2008. In 2008, I think we were not even talking about climate change. Not many people were there. Right now, like we see so many adversities, it's right in our face. We can't now. Of course, there are world leaders who deny the effects of climate change, but all of us know the very fact that we are here means we all care for the environment. So these awards, as we say, these are for eco-guardians, earth heroes, we can call them whatever, all kinds of adjectives that we can think about, and they're endless. They're doing some exemplary work. I think she's given all the background that I should have said here. The context has been set. We know what these awards are about. I would give you a little bit brief about. In the last 11 editions, we've had over 2,300 participants, various categories. We've had 87 winners. We have a very, very the categories also have been evolving over a period of time, because from 2008 to 2024, the various aspects of climate change and the awareness, the work that people are doing has gone a sea change. The newest category that we've introduced this year is the youth in climate change activities, because I think that's a huge area. People, not only schools, everyone is talking about it, and more awareness. We want to see what are the various initiatives that can be taken. Innovation is a very big category. We have a new category this time also, which is startup space in the climate change. Today, like she very rightly said, we are more interested, we are talking here about the community-based action spaces, because all the reasons that the southern India that's been, looking at various adversaries, in this specific category, we would we are inviting the CBOs, NGOs, various organizations who are working towards, creating more climate resilient communities. It can be in the space of biodiversity conversation, because climate change is a large subject. Environment, if we say, is it all encompassing. So what are the subcategories or sub initiatives that we will be looking at? Say biodiversity, green energy adoption, huge lot of work is happening in the southern India. Tamil Nadu, I think, is leading state who's done a lot of work in renewable energy. Sustainable waste management. Our last engagement was in Indore. So Indore, all of us know, for the last 7 years has been the cleanest city, and they're doing some amazing work. So, and there are a lot of models that are evolving in India, not only if you look at Indore as a city, but even smaller tier 2, tier 3 cities, and even smaller communities doing some great work. Sustainable agricultural practices. I think this is the most important subcategory if we now look at, because when we talk about 2030 and that 1.5 limit that we have, I think agriculture is the biggest space where a lot needs to be done, and a lot is being done. So if we can find those heroes who are doing exemplary work, that will be our real activity. Natural resource management, again, huge. It's a big area. What innovations, what new things, what are the ways we are bringing about the change in the community is something that we are looking at. This is our esteemed jury now. We have Dr. Mashelkar. I think we don't need to speak about him. His name in himself brings great experience, and the kind of questions that come through the jury, every winner, our earlier winners have come back telling us it was a learning experience. So we have some winners, we'll hear from them their experiences. We have Arunabha Ghosh, who's the founder and CEO of CEW. We have Rajat Gupta, we have Shloka Nath, and we have Priya Shah. Priya Shah, again, we've introduced in our jury for the first time, because she brings that youth angle, and she also is a venture capitalist who are supporting people in the startup space. Our knowledge partner TTC doing a great job. All the applications that we receive about thousands of applications. Those need to be sifted to look at, which are the award-winning, all those applications that can be brought to the table. When we have such esteemed jury to even get there and to talk to them. This is the work that TTC is doing. And our outreach partners, we have India Climate Collaborative, we have CEW, we have Energy Swaraj, we have Earth Day Organization. These are some of our past winners. And like I said, we also have a couple of winners in the audience from whom you will be hearing. Our social media handles, I would request you all to visit one of the, either the website or our social media handles that we there, which gives you more information about our past winners, the work that Earthcare Awards has been doing. The most important, very interesting category here is the Young Climate Champions program. We are working through, under this program, we are looking at not the school kids, but slightly older kids, the college kids who will be our beacon of hope as we go ahead. These kids, the program will be run through Earth Drain Network, and we would really want more and more participation. Hello, sir. Welcome. So we were also waiting for sir to come, and with the brief introduction about Earthcare Awards and what Jyoti has given, I would now hand over and ask her to introduce, and we go ahead. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we have seen the brief, we've understood what the awards have been so far, and today we are talking about the outreach event of the 12th of our edition. The energy in room and the salute to our heroes do fall short. So let's give it up a round of cheer and louder applause, everyone. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, before us, we have the gentleman who's an exception to the leadership, to the persona he carries, and to the responsibilities and duties he always handles. He makes sure that he's a part of every initiative taken towards the good change of community and society. Introducing to you our very dear Special Chief Secretary, Department of IT, Electronics and Communication, and Department of Industries and Commerce, Government of Telangana. Let me take this moment of introducing him before I get him on stage. Sir Jayesh Ranjan is the Principal Secretary of ITNC. He is and his assessment involving identifying opportunities of utilizing IT in various government processes, attracting new investments and promoting digital empowerment of the citizens. So may I request each one of us to put our hands together and welcome the gentleman, Sir Jayesh Ranjan IAS, on the dais, please. Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Greetings to all of you. My apologies that I'm coming a little late, but nevertheless, I'm happy to be here and share some thoughts with you. But before that, I would like to congratulate Times of India, the JSW Group, and all the other the knowledge partners, TTC, and everyone else who is associated with this event. I was telling Samyukta ji outside that I have followed this event for so many years. I take keen interest to know who are recognized as the winners, what are their achievements, what are they doing. I have met some of them personally as well, and it's a real, very thorough, very genuine, very authentic selection process. As we know, there are all kinds of efforts, and I don't want to comment on anyone, but there are awards of dubious kinds also. But this is something, if someone wins it, that is a very genuine recognition that you are doing some real extraordinary things. So I do hope that many people from Hyderabad, many organizations from Hyderabad, they will give their entries. As you would have understood, there's a procedure for filing your entries, and there are people who have already won it from our state. I know that in the afternoon, some of them will be speaking to you. I think Maitri Aquatech is interacting. You are here already, and you are also participating. So look at them and understand what is so special about them, what have they done, and so on and so forth. So that is one part. But I basically wanted to share something equally important and related to the kind of theme this event and the awards in general are promoting, which is related to net zero. Now, all of you would be aware that Honorable Prime Minister has committed that India will become net zero by 2070. Actually, the reality is that for many, many years, India was not making any commitment at all. There used to be a criticism about India and about China also. The two large countries, two of the biggest countries, at least in terms of population, they are avoiding setting national targets, national goals. They are always sidetracking the issue. They are talking about other points. For example, who will fund it? What is the responsibility of developed countries? Why the burden should be on developing countries and this and that. And they were avoiding making any such commitment. So that used to be the case for many, many years, for decades actually. But fortunately, Honorable Prime Minister made this commitment in the last COP event, Conference of Parties, and committed that India will become net zero by 2070. Obviously, as the Prime Minister, he has the national picture before him, which are the areas where effort will be required, which states are slow, and obviously lots of advice will be available to him, lots of expertise will be available to him, lots of data will be with him. So based on all that analysis only, he must have committed that 2070 is the right target to put for the country. But there are many states, including our state of Telangana, where we feel that we can do it much faster. We need not wait till 2070. And in our state, again, what I'm saying is not the official view of the government, but we don't have authentic information and data as of now, but some very basic back of the envelope calculation shows that if we really put our efforts and all the stakeholders support us, Telangana can become a net zero state by 2047. And 2047, as all of us know, is a very, very important milestone. And imagine how wonderful will it be. The country becomes 100 years old and a state declares itself to be net zero. So that is the belief that, of course, as I said, 2047 is not backed by very detailed study or analysis or data. If once we do that, it may change this way, that way, but I'll be personally very delighted if we remain to 2047 because of the significance of 2047. The other important thing to share with you, if that is the goal, that let us use 2047 in this talk, though as I told you, it's not yet scientifically established, but let us, just for the ease of speaking and explaining, and understanding, let us stick to 2047. So there are three important things to understand. So one is that if you are committing that I will do something by 2047, first of all, you need to take stock of where you are right now. So if you want to become zero by 2047, how far are you from zero? Are you at 100? Are you at 400? Are you at 90? And then, so stock taking, what is the baseline that you are currently at? That is very, very important to study. So that is one important thing. The second important thing to understand is that carbon emissions are contributed in multiple ways. The carbon load comes from multiple sources, and therefore there will be multiple things to do. Multiple interventions will have to happen. For example, as we know, the vehicular emission is an important source of carbon emission. Building activities is an important source. Industrial activities is an important source. The pattern of energy usage is an important source. Agriculture activity contributes something. Individual behavior, each of us in some ways add to the carbon footprint. So how do you plan when you are doing a net zero target setting for the state? Which are the interventions which can go faster? Which are the interventions where some hurdles will be there? And obviously each intervention will come at a cost. So which are the interventions where the cost will be way, way too high? There could be some interventions where too much of complexity in terms of stakeholder involvement, behavioral change, attitude change is required, which is not an easy thing to achieve. So you also have to take stock on which of these interventions, as the phrase goes, which are these low-hanging fruits, which are the ones where some time will be required, which is the one where much more stakeholder engagement will be expected. So more nuanced planning is there. Just to say that my goal is net zero by 2047 or 2070 is not enough. You have to disaggregate sector-wise. The third very important thing is that we have to have a time dimension also. See, if you have to achieve something by 2047, it is not that you keep sleeping till 2046 and suddenly you wake up and you hope that some miracle will happen and everything will become all right. Obviously, no miracle will happen. If you have to achieve something by 2047, you have to start some things now itself. We are towards the end of 2024, as we know. Some things may start in 24, some may in 25, majority by 26. And you have to keep monitoring. You have to have goals. You have to keep checking what you started in 24. By 2030, where are we? By 35, where are we? By 40, where are we? So there's a time kind of a sense also. So all these are kind of doable things, but they also require proper planning, getting all the stakeholders. Lots of expertise is required. I mentioned a while ago that first of all, we have to take stock on where we are. That itself requires lots of scientific analysis. There's lots of today modeling which is available. And as all of us know, artificial intelligence has also improved the understanding of these kind of things significantly. There is amazing advancement of science, advancement of knowledge today. And there are modeling techniques which can relatively accurately tell us where we are, which are the areas where we need to intervene. But we need to engage with organizations, people, individuals who can do that. Then I also mentioned that there are certain things which are straightforward. For example, as we would know, all of us would know, for the last so many years, 10 years or so, we have implemented a program called Harita Haram, which now is called Vana Mahotsavam. It is called Vana Mahotsavam. But the meaning is the same. You plant trees, you protect trees, you maintain greenery, you create green lung spaces, and we have done it well. In fact, some of you may be aware that a survey was done by the Forest Academy, I guess, the Forest Survey Institute, on how much of tree cover has been increased, and they found that the tree cover increase in Telangana is far more than has been achieved in any other state. It is far more than the national average, which means that plantation is one part. It is very easy to plant, but maintaining them and seeing them become tall and grow, etc., is a bigger responsibility. So as a community, as individuals, as organizations, as government departments, government officials, we have succeeded in that. So that has now become a part of our DNA. Obviously, we can do much more than that. Water conservation is another area. There are certain other policies also. You will be aware in Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, there is something called the cool roof policy. Similarly, my department and I myself was involved in bringing out a policy to promote electric mobility, EV policy. So this policy was introduced in 2020, and in the past 4 years, the results are very good. In fact, our adoption of electric vehicles in the two-wheeler segment is much more than national average. We are not the best in the country, but amongst the top in the country. And I am hopeful that for four-wheeler and for heavy vehicles like trucks and buses also, the results will be similar in days to come. We are actually bringing out an updated version of the EV policy, which supports faster adoption and adoption across these other sectors also of a four-wheeler user, of a truck company or a bus company, etc., etc. So there are certain things which we have already done well, but as I said, there are many other areas also where interventions are required. We require, of course, the assistance of scientific institutions, knowledge institutions, scientific experts, but we also require people like you who are important stakeholders, because all these interventions that I spoke about, while a plan will be prepared at a macro level, the intervention will have to be actually carried out at a very, very micro level. And as the phrase goes, every person counts, every drop counts, every initiative matters. And how do you really bring everyone together? How does this idea that when the country is becoming independent, we are becoming net zero, how does this gain the mind space of everyone? How does this become popular? Is a very, very important cause, very important priority. And in days to come, in weeks and months to come, you will see things coming up more tangibly. Right now, whatever I told is a very broad macro level thinking which is happening at the government's level, but much more detailed information will be passed on as days go by. But I can share something else also with you, which shows the sincerity of the government. So you will be aware that Honorable Chief Minister has announced a few flagship projects. Of course, as you know, when the government became a new government 10 months ago, the dominant programs and schemes which the government took were the 6 guarantees, which is what were promised by them in the elections and which is what found favor with the people. And those guarantees were kind of put into place. But after that work was more or less accomplished, Honorable Chief Minister, his cabinet has announced a few other priority projects also. Some of you might have heard about this project, which is called the Fourth City. The government is planning to set up a satellite greenfield city on the outskirts of Hyderabad, approximately 20 kilometers from the Hyderabad airport on the Sri Sailam Road. The government is in the possession of 15,000 acres of land, and then there is another 5,000 acres of reserve forest abutting this 15,000. So 15 plus 5, 20,000 acres of land is in the possession of the government, and the government wants to set up a new township, a satellite township, which of course one is to decongest the main city, but also promote newer kinds of developments which is happening across the world. So for example, as all of us know, India's performance in Olympics was very underwhelming, and many people tell that it is because we don't have a grassroots talent development and very high quality coaching program or training program. So one of the elements of this will be set up in that future city or fourth city. Similarly, we have very good healthcare institutions in Hyderabad, like 2-3 other Indian cities. But we don't get, of course, we get international patients. We get patients from Bangladesh, Afghanistan, some African countries, maybe Oman, Kuwait. But we don't get patients from affluent countries. I don't see any American patients in our Apollos or AIG or CARE. I don't see any British patients in these kind of hospitals, despite the fact that in these countries, there are severe challenges of healthcare. There are certain kinds of healthcare procedures which are so expensive in the US that people avoid getting that done because they just can't afford to pay for it. The same thing like a knee replacement, hip replacement, dental transplants, cosmetic surgery, hair transplant. Even if they have that problem, they just live with it because it is too expensive to get it done. In India, it costs 1/20th of what it costs. But no one comes here. Maybe they go to Canada or they go to Singapore or somewhere, but no one comes here. So we are going to set up something to promote medical tourism in the fourth city. We are also trying to set up an education hub. As some of you would know, international universities are coming to India now, and a few of them which have come have gone to other states. So can we create a very good ecosystem where they are attracted to Telangana and to Hyderabad? So these are some of the components of the fourth city or the future city. But the reason why I'm mentioning this example here, you may think that I'm talking now, I'm kind of deviating from the topic. I'm speaking of something else. But the reason why I'm talking about the fourth city is that there is one more name for that fourth city, and that name is Net Zero City. The whole city is going to be developed on net zero principles. If you go to Net Zero City from Hyderabad or from the airport in your car, let us say it is a diesel car, you will be stopped at the outskirts and you will be asked to shift to a battery operated vehicle. No vehicles of diesel or petrol will be allowed in the Net Zero City. The entire source of energy in the Net Zero City will be through gas. No coal, no steam. There will be what is called as district cooling. So common air conditioning, common heating for everyone. You won't have individual air conditioners. The whole facility will have what is called central cooling, central heating. There will be efficient ways of waste disposal so that there is no carbon footprint because of waste disposal. The 5,000 acres which I mentioned, which is abutting the 15,000 acres, which is a reserve forest. Chief Minister's direction is that the first activity which should start in this future city is to further thicken that forest. It should be a very dense forest, and you should have walkways, you should have rainwater harvesting, you should have water pooling. Of course, it becomes a place where people can go for recreation, but it should become a very strong lung space to support that 15,000 acres. Similarly, so this itself is an example that we have started thinking about net zero. This could have become any other township in any other way. But this is the USP, that it is actually called the Net Zero City. Similarly, you must have heard about the Musi, and I'm implementing it, so I know about this. This is not a second-hand information. I know that this is how this city will be run. Similarly, there's another flagship project called the Musi Rejuvenation Project. So I don't deal with that project directly, but I've sat through some meetings, and what I have understood is that there also lots of these net zero principles will be followed. The way this river will be developed, water will be flowing in, groundwater recharge will happen. Lots of that will also contribute to net zero, etc. So this is the point which I'm trying to make. There will be a goal. There will be lots of collaboration to achieve those goals. Different areas will be identified. Timelines, monitoring mechanisms, institutional responsibilities will be created. But while that is still being developed, whatever is already starting with that focus on net zero. So I would like JSW, Times of India, it's great to recognize people who are doing exemplary work. But this is one of the very few states today which has this kind of a vision, this kind of a dynamism, this kind of a program. So if you can also support us in our long-term goals, etc. And if there are any other award winners from other states also whose activities are kind of relevant for the kind of work that we are doing, please do connect them to us as well. And we'll be happy to kind of take this in a very participatory and a very inclusive way. So once again, I'm glad that you gave me a chance to share some of these thoughts. I know that there are actually lots of people who have deep connect with our planet, our environment, who are going to be a participant in the panel discussions to follow. So all the best for the rest of the day. And thank you very much for giving me this chance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request you to please stay back. You said thank you for giving me the chance to speak. It's definitely an honor for us to have you here with us, and for showing a little gratitude from all sides we can do. I request Ms. Rupa to please join me on stage as a token of gratitude and all a heartful thank. We would like to felicitate Sir Jayesh Ranjan on stage. Thank you very much, sir. We are so glad to hear the measures which you are taking forward as the government. Ladies and gentlemen, let's once again put our hands together and thank sir for joining us and also enlightening us about what we are looking forward to. So very well spoke about the plan, the vision, the net zero, the fourth city, which is also going to be known as a net zero city. So the plan is set, we have started working, and now is the time for us. Sir also mentioned that if 2047 is the target, this is the time when you start planning, right? You cannot suddenly wake up a day. And it implies for every phase of life that you have to be ready, you have to start planning, and we will make sure that we all work towards this initiative and this cause. Ladies and gentlemen, nowadays being on social media is another advantage because there exactly we know what's happening. So on screen you'll be able to see we have our website www.earthcareawards.com. Also we have a social presence on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter with the same handle @EarthCareAwards. If you want to know about the initiative, the achievements and the innovations, that is the place where you can get your information not just about the city, the nation, but globally. So, with the speech that Sir delivered to us, I was so thrilled to learn that he has to work with all the governments that come in force in the city, and he really appreciates, and he also mentions in all his presence, in all the seminars he attends, he says, yes, we are working together. As he rightly said, this is not a second-hand information, but we are working. So who knows? 2 decades ago, the mobile phone was not there, but it was in the thoughts. Similarly, 2 decades from now, the net zero will be implemented, and just make sure that we are going to be a part of it. So let's put our hands together for the initiative and to each one of you who are witnessing this today. Moving further, it's a time to take the session ahead with the first panel discussion. Moving the agenda further, and now talking about resilient futures, community-led strategies for climate change. We have the panel discussion, and to do that, first let me take this honor of inviting the moderator on the stage. Mr. Ajay Pandey, founder, director of Think Through Consulting Private Limited. Can we request Ajay Pandey sir to join me on stage? So while you walk on stage, I would like to take this honor of introducing you. As a sustainable development professional, sir has built expertise in the domain of natural resource management, climate change mitigation and adaptation, sustainable livelihoods, and social entrepreneurship. And sir, with your permission, can I now invite the panelists on stage one after the other? So the first panelist to join us, Dr. Ramesh Singh, Principal Scientist and Cluster Leader, ICRISAT Development Center Global Research Program, Resilient Farm and Food Systems. Sir, a very warm welcome. He has an experience of more than 25 years of research and development and the landscape resource conservation. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now request our next panelist to join me as I call. Can I request Madhulika Chaudhary from Dhruvansh and Environment NGO to join me on stage? She is also known as the Lady of Lakes. Her first restored lake, Neknampur Lake, has been selected as Niti Aayog. Wow, congratulations to you, ma'am, and we are highly delighted that you are joining us for this session. Calling the next panelist, Srinivas Cherla, Director of Sustainability Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad, also known as RICH. His key focus is to foster an innovation ecosystem and institutional collaborations. And now, may I request the panelist next I call to join me on stage. Can I request Ms. Farida, State Director of Worldwide Fund, to join me on stage? She is on many national and state steering committees on wildlife and environment protection. She conducts training on All India Service and State Service Officers. So let's begin this thought-provoking discussion. And now I hand it over to Ajay sir. Sir, all over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jyoti. And once again, your energy has been very infectious. So Thank you for
Thank
setting that context, and the kind of address that Mr. Jayesh Ranjan gave spoke very calmly, in a very pleasant manner. He narrated the importance of net zero and what government of Telangana is working towards that. This particular panel, and I'm privileged to have all my eminent co-panelists. They have been introduced, but I really would like to request you all to give another round of applause for each one of them. And we will be looking forward to learn from everyone's experience within the domain of climate action, and mostly focusing on community participation or community engagement, or rather community led. And that, just to set the context for today's panel discussion, I will start from where Mr. Jayesh Ranjan started. He spoke about net zero. He spoke about 2047, which is, as he stressed many times, is not scientifically proven yet. But let's assume that we have to achieve something by 2047 or 2050 or even 2070. There is a lot of work that needs to be done, because what we are planning to do is undoing a lot of things that we have done over centuries. This is not something that has happened over a period of 20 years, 30 years. It has taken hundreds of years to reach where we have reached. And to undo that within a span of 30, 40, 50 years is going to take a lot of effort. And those effort it is not possible to be achieved just by government of a country or a local government or a state or at a regional level. Everyone will have to put their hands together. And when we are looking at around 8 billion people inhabiting this planet Earth, when we talk about Earth care, it has to be cared by each of those 8 billion people, So there, the importance of community-led climate action becomes even more important. And for a country like India, where, majority of our population are living in a climate fragile and vulnerable zones, it becomes really, really challenging and daunting, because for them, the priority is not to protect the environment. Yes, they are protecting the environment because they are closest to the environment, but they are doing it because that is something that they have been doing. But their priority is to look after their socioeconomic needs, to look after their educational needs, to look after their healthcare needs. And in doing all of it, they also need to take this burden of protecting the environment, because they are the most vulnerable. Ultimately, we are all going to face and we are facing the brunt of climate change, but those communities are going to be at the center of all the impact, negative or positive, that we will have from climate change. Today, there has been a lot of emphasis worldwide on just transition. In fact, there's a lot of conferences, a lot of seminars, papers, which are being written around this topic of just transition. And what is just transition? It is, we ultimately will need to transition from fossil fuel or GHG emitting technology and fuel sources, energy, to more renewable sources of energy. But the process of this transition, and the process of this transition is only going to help us achieve net zero. Unless and until we do something drastic, this is not going to be achieved. So the transition, therefore, in a period of 20 years, 30 years, is also going to be drastic. It is not a slow transition. Slow transition happens over a period of centuries. but this is going to be a drastic step towards transition. How do we ensure that this transition, which is going to be drastic, is also going to be just? That this is not going to put the people who are already vulnerable, make them even more vulnerable, make them even more marginal. How do we ensure that? How do we ensure their economic security? How do we ensure their livelihood security? How do we ensure that enough skills are being developed in the new kind of technologies that we are working out? So there are a lot of questions, a lot of different avenues that needs to be explored. And I'm hoping that through the discussions that we are going to have today, we may touch upon some of these issues. We have in the audience as well, I met many people who are working in this domain, who have expert knowledge, who have experience, and we will also like to hear from the the audiences, the participants, so that this is a more inclusive kind of discussion. So with that context, I will initiate the discussion, and I will move on to my left with Dr. Singh. And I'll ask them, and all the panelists, we can move in this order, and just to give a brief initial remark. I have touched upon different issues, so did Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, but we are looking at the issue of what is the future of resilience, and therefore how do we define resilience today, and moving forward, assuming that we will be moving towards a more green, more I would say decarbonized world around us. So what is the role of community in that space, and how we define resilience in that? So if we can cover that topic and set the context and give an opening remark. Dr. Singh, over to you first.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning to you all. Let me introduce, I think most of the people from Hyderabad. Let me introduce 30 seconds about ICRISAT. ICRISAT is International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics, headquartered at Hyderabad, Patancheru. Huge campus, 3,500 acres, and having 8 offices in Africa. Mainly mandate is to improve, transform livelihood of smallholder farmers in Asia and Africa. So our country liaison office in Delhi, and we have 8 offices: Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Kenya, in African countries. So now I am coming to the business of, and I am working. Now see, in ICRISAT there is 3 programs of research. So I belongs to Resilient Farm and Food Systems, and there are 5 divisions. One division is ICRISAT Development Center, which has been established by Dr. Vani, and he left, I think, sir, you have left in 2017, 18. So thereafter, Dr. Dikshit was there, and now I am basically taking the legacy which has left by Dr. Vani. So basically, we are working because this topic is very close to my heart. I have spent about 26 years and for the caring of the earth, Mother Earth. A lot of things, there is a lot of gap is there. How to address those gaps, how to bring resilience, because without bringing resilience, you can't transform the livelihood of the farmers, smallholder farmers. And this is not about Telangana, South India, North India. You forget about the national boundary. Every country is facing. You go to the European country, go to the African country, everywhere there is a problem of climate, because climate is changing. That is clear. As far as my opinion is concerned, climate is changing. 10 years before we were talking about the pattern is changing, but now annual amount is changing. There is a drastic rainfall shift. If you can't imagine that even in central India, which is food bowl of the country, is now receiving 200 to 400 less rainfall as compared to 30 years before. Now rainfall is changing. Now it is shifting towards western part of the country. So now Rajasthan Tamil Nadu is receiving more rainfall. So we have to change the strategy because now rainy days are decreasing. So we have to make our community resilient because without making them resilient, we can't transform their livelihoods. Lot of problem, lot of issues are there. We are living here nicely because of the ecosystem services generated from the landscape. And that landscape is basically maintained by our smallholder farmers. So main problem is how to strengthen ecosystem services that is degrading quickly. So the resilience, as per my opinion, is to bring a community resilient, climate resilient, so that they can absorb the shocks. If any adverse weather conditions are coming, extreme events are coming, to make them resilient, how they can survive, how they can earn their livelihood and get better ecosystem services. So these are I will also quote, I will take 1 minute more. Now see, one live example. Why this is very crucial to the agriculture sector for the livelihood of the farmers. Now see, entire India, if you go, either rainfall shifting, 200 to 400 millimeter is the significant amount annually, which is shifting from central India to eastern and western part. So now see, even even eastern and western and in central India, there is a dry spells. 1 week dry spell, and definitely we are getting about 15 to 20 days dry spell during rainy season. In any crop, you take either groundnut or any crop you take, kharif crops, if 20 days dry spells are there, at least we can lose our 20% productivity. So we have to make them aware. With the further discussion, I will also throw some lights. So definitely this is very crucial point and crucial issues. We have to take care of Mother Earth. Till now we have survived because there is a buffer capacity into the earth. But how long we can survive? If we can play like this, then we cannot leave anything to our future generations. So we have to think. I will also flag some data also to think how to divert our fund, how to manage Mother Earth. So all those things we'll discuss when discussion will go.
I'll come back to you on the dry spell, because what we are also experiencing is rainfall which is happening and which is contradicting with the agriculture cycle, and therefore leading to crop losses and everything. So that was a point I will come back to. I'll move on to Madhulika, and you are also called the Lady of Lakes. So and Dhruvans is one of the previous awardees, Earth Care awardees. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay sir. I'm really thankful for JSW and Times of India. I'm the 2019 winner of Earth Care Award, and I'm the only NGO who is still now winner of Earth Care Award 2019. So I'm expecting in the future we can have more winners from the Telangana. The good thing about it that whenever I'm talking about the lake restoration, people always ask me, Madhulika, what technology you have used? What technology you have used? Right? And I hate that question because actually the lake is restored by the community. Until and unless the connection is created between the people and the natural resources, any technology you keep it at the lake, it will be stolen very next day or it is broken. So in those cases, it's not the technology. So I have Neknampur Lake again in the 2019. I told the same that it's my teacher, right? And with the Neknampur Lake, still I'm restoring and maintaining the lake from last 8 years. We are able to do 25 lakes all around the Telangana because of the same model. Because the Neknampur Lake taught me how you have to connect the people with the lake. So when I started the lake, it was a rural. Then it becomes peri-urban. Now it is total urban lake. So I have seen the change in the community around the lake. I have seen change the behavioral around the lake about that. So the journey which, truly speaking, and Farida ma'am is always in my journey. I'm thankful for that. She is always there. So in those cases, it's not about the technology. I always feel if you just leave the earth doing nothing, any natural resources, right, and just have a connection with the humans. Why we are protecting the natural resources? We are protecting so that the human can survive for a longer period of the time, right? We are not protecting the natural resources for the sake of the natural resources. We are protecting the natural resources so that the human can survive on the earth for a very long period of the time. So in those cases, it is very much necessary that there should be a very strong connection between the humans as well as with the natural resources. And that take years. If you feel that you have just put up a technology in 6 months and you feel that a natural resources is restored, seriously, that model will not work. I've seen in many areas. So with the Neknampur Lake, with the Mishki Cheru, with 25 lakes and other things, I've experienced the thought process, the change in the thought process, and the continuous patience, how a natural resources demand from you to actually get it restored. So in those circumstances, it is very much needed. Sometimes people call me as a lady of lakes. I should say that I'm actually a lady of people, right? I'm a lady of citizens. Because I am able to change the people who were earlier fishermen, and then when there was no fish in the lake, they become alcoholic, right? They were all 40 years old people, and then I again converted and connected them to the lake, right? They are still working with me. This is the 20 people, which we are paying them, salaried them, and now after 40, I'm teaching them because they are totally, they cannot read and write. So now with the Google, definitely with the Google technology, because on the speak, in the Google we can speak and we can search. I'm teaching them how to use them. So if you just start one natural resources restoration, actually you are doing plantation, you are doing skill development, you are doing woman upliftment, you are doing education, and then definitely the environment. So this is whole connectivity. When the people says me, no, Madhulika, environment is different with the woman skill, environment is different with the education. Environment sciences is the major sciences which actually carry the physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology. So I seriously am not able to differentiate that how the education is different with the environment. If we have such kind of the thoughts, definitely we will find out that more people will understand that environment is not a different topic with the rejuvenation of the complete civilization. One more thing I would like to add, that we need to understand that what kind of the society we are going to become. We are going to become a civilized society or a penalized society. Right? If we want to have a civilized society, we definitely need a self-motivated people. And self-motivated people, whatever you use the words capacity building or awareness or so many strong terminologies, you can use it. The simple thing is that if we are able to have a 50% of self-motivated people, you will find that environment is rejuvenated. Right? So these are the things which I'm continuously trying, and I'm finding out that the lakes are a position where you get everything, and they give you the opportunity to do a lot more. Thank you.
Yeah, moving on to Srinivas.
Very good morning to all the esteemed guests over here and the very illustrious panelists on stage with me. I am Srinivas Charla. I head the sustainability area at Research and Innovation Circle, Hyderabad. So I would like to just introduce the organization. It is a Telangana state establishment. It's a not-for-profit set up by the state of Telangana and helps the government in terms of policy advisory like a think tank. Also work on several lighthouse projects of national importance associated with several national missions like the National Green Hydrogen Mission or Waste to Energy Mission, even any other smart cities mission and several other initiatives. So we do a lot of demonstration projects where there's a need to bring in multiple stakeholders, the government, the citizens, the research and academic institutions together to deliver results. We also do a lot of capability building workshops and connections and networking with all the research, CSIR labs, defense labs and several other institutions which tend to work in silos, so bringing them together and unlocking the innovation potential existing in the in our ecosystem, research and academic ecosystem. So that's a little bit about RICH. At RICH, we focus on 3 areas: agriculture, life sciences or healthcare, and sustainability. And I had the sustainability area over there. So when I got a call from the JSW Earth Awards team that we would like to have you as a panelist, frankly, I was a little jittery because I know a lot of focus is on community-led initiatives. Maybe agriculture could be the focus, and also the other esteemed panelists were all from slightly more community-led agriculture kind of background, and I was the only outlier working on sustainability, but my focus is mainly on energy, green hydrogen, e-waste management, and those areas. So I felt a little out of place, but then yeah, the organization kind of convinced that climate is cutting across sectors. So we look for diverse opinions, and you can add your viewpoints on how community-led strategies are helping in the sustainability area. So today I'll try to share some of my experience in working on initiatives around energy management, community energy savings, working on integrated decarbonization of MSMEs and industries. Also other activities that we do in terms of integrated blue-green agriculture, that is aquaculture and agriculture hybridization, to give better yield and better income for the farmers. So these are some of the areas that we are working on. I had a few initiatives in that area, and I'll be sharing my experience. Of course, there are a few other activities that we have been associated to, even in the agricultural space, and I'll give my viewpoints on those, though I may not be at par with my panelists on in terms of experience in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivas. Thank you. Yeah, over to you, Farida.
Thank you, Ajayji. And thank you, JSW and Times of India, for inviting me over. And I know I was a last-minute entry into this panel, completely taken aback on what do I have to speak, but knowing that everyone here is going to talk about communities and climate change, so I'm a bit at comfort now. As many of you know, WWF India, as the whole name stands for Worldwide Fund for Nature. People still identify us as a wildlife organization working on wildlife, but we don't. We work for people living in harmony with nature. That is WWF's main motto, main mission. And everything that we do have people at the core of our activities. When we are doing wildlife conservation in the forest areas across India, whether it is the landscape programs that we run, right from the Everest or let's say the Himalayas, all the way down to the 2 islands of India. Everywhere, while we work on conserving and protecting biodiversity and wildlife, communities are at the core of our work. And we have a division completely which is committed to work on climate change. It is called the Sustainable Business and Sustainable Finance group now, where we are working towards what we call financing the green and greening the finance. So trying to see how whatever today activities are done are mainstreamed into taking climate change as one of the main source, biodiversity protection as one of the main mainstreaming into the different sectors, whether it is in the production sector, manufacturing sector. So we are working with a lot of these groups. We have, as we all know, vulnerable areas of India are the Himalayas, are the Sundarbans. So WWF India has been working in both these regions with the communities on creating resilience and mitigation, because adaptation is definitely going to be a challenge, but how can we reduce the impact? How can we make the communities prepared for climate change and what is happening across the globe and also effects seen in India? That reminds me that when I was early on in my years in Hyderabad city, I happened to meet a forest officer, as we work very closely with the forest department, and I can see many of our forest department colleagues are here. I had spoken to one of the forest officers, and he asked me, what do you do and what are you aiming to do here in Andhra Pradesh, United at that time? And I said that one of the areas I'm also going to work on is in climate change. And he said, why will you work on climate change in Hyderabad? We are not going to have any effects of climate change. Because it's the glaciers, they are melting, something will happen, there will be. So then I had to explain to him that, why climate change sitting in Andhra Pradesh then and now Telangana, how it's going to impact. So we began in 2007-8 with a program which was called Young Climate Savers. This was for schools across India, where we were working with rural schools, the vulnerable schools in coastal areas, in coastal, not only coastal, but wherever we felt that the impact of climate change is going to be major. And through the school students, we started working with their parents, which is basically the community. That was our first intervention on the education front, directly with school students, trying to make them the first responders to anything which is going to happen with climate change. Along with that, we have a very big program which is called Sustainable Agriculture, where we are working with farming communities very closely on how do we develop resilience against climate vagaries. In that, we're not only working in Telangana, in 4 districts of Telangana, but also Sundarbans is another major area that we work on, because that's where they're increasingly seeing their soils are becoming saline. There's more incursion of saline water into their agriculture, especially after major cyclones, which unfortunately pass through Sundarbans. So we work with them very closely on that. So we have many such programs across India where we felt that the climate change impact is going to be massive. And not only on that communities, but even at the biodiversity level, because a lot of shift has been noticed in biodiversity as well. So we are trying to understand, we have our research groups which work on understanding the impacts of climate change on biodiversity. So I can talk about it more as we go forward.
Thank you, Farida, and thank you everyone for giving those opening remarks. I will move on, and I will start first order now. So I'm going to you, Farida, first.
You're not letting me develop my thoughts after listening to everybody.
You don't need to. As I said, the experience speaks. So you have been working on community and natural resource management interlinkage for quite some time now, and you gave examples from Telangana, from Sundarbans, in terms of resilience. And the question to you is, when we look at 2024, how has it changed when, in terms of the interactions? Because I remember when I started working with community, that was some 24 years back, and today's community, because there is a generational shift. People who are more, I would say, more connected with nature have now become old. There is a younger generation which has a different aspiration. So the definition of community itself has been changing. Now when we look at community in these regions, and when we are planning something for next 20 years, next 30 years, what are the main challenges that you think we will need to address, both at the execution and, if you can add, on the policy level?
So, as we have been working with communities, whether it is forest communities or rural communities, see, the information today, thanks to, like Madhulika said, technology and also our WhatsApp University, information spreads very quickly. It's just like, and like there's a new saying that what goes around comes around. And that's what's happening in the WhatsApp University. It ultimately, if you have sent it around, and it will come back to you shortly. But sometimes the challenge which I see is a lot of wrong information that goes around. And that is what is going to be a major challenge. If we can link the right kind of information, because I'll tell you an example of COVID. And though I don't like to refer to that era, that's an era I would like to wipe out from my mind. But I remember we had gone, because the vulnerable communities in the forest area were also there, we had some rations and all, we also mobilized to give to them in case they're not getting access to it. And we try to tell these groups of people that, and this is not only in Telangana, but in other parts of India also we were doing it, that please go in for your corona shots, take the vaccine. And they were not willing to listen. They were disbelieving in this vaccine because they felt that they will get impacted, they will die. And they said, no, 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 we are not going to take it. And why? Because they saw it on this social media platforms, because they all have, even if they are living in the forest, they come to the nearest town and they get information, and then they get this wrong information that this is what is going to happen to them. So we have to deal with this kind of wrong information, providing the right information, getting them to understand what exactly is happening and what is going to be the change scenario. So, and we can send the right information very quickly. So that is one opportunity that we have. And then I think just awareness is there with everybody, I can tell you that. As you work more and more on the ground level, everybody is aware, more or less. I wouldn't say 99%, 100%, but yes, the information is that something is happening to the climate. When we had started something called a climate witness program many years ago, many years ago, we had asked people to talk to the elderly in their communities and see what is a change. And they were gathering information on what they had seen shifts. We had such one of those panels a long ago, and there was a Kashmiri girl who had told us that where we were growing apples, we are not able to grow apples anymore. We have to shift further up. That means that that particular area climate was not conducive enough to grow apples. So there are those kind of shifts, and this are realized by the communities themselves. So if we are able to equip them with this right information that needs to percolate down, like from whoever, the scientists, whether they are practitioners, it's very important that the right information given to them, they are equipped with the right tools and the right measures to, otherwise it can lead to a major, it can turn around and lead to something which is more ugly. So we will have to do that. That is one of the challenges that I see. Other challenge, like when we work on sustainable agriculture and working with the communities, we have seen, and we are promoting natural farming with these groups of farmers who are there in 4-5 districts of Telangana, in Maharashtra and all. They are not getting the right kind of material to use. And we have our Dr. Ramesh Singh from ICRISET, and I'm sure he has also got this feedback very often from farmers that they are not able to get the right kind of seeds, right kind of resilient seeds which will deal with this climate vagaries. They are not getting the right kind of inputs which need to go into the agriculture sector. So this, if we are able to address, and this will be only, I'm talking about in the farming sector. We work with fishermen communities on the coast of Andhra Pradesh. Even there, they have huge challenges. And their challenges, climate change is there, we will have sea level rise, etc., etc. But they are seeing a lot of loss of diversity in fish catch. Added to this diversity loss is the huge plastic which is coming into their nets.
But I just wanted to, sorry for in between, but has there been a change in, because the challenges that you have mentioned, given the new generation which is coming out, WhatsApp University, they are using more, but are the nature of the challenges changing or have they remained similar?
I think the challenges remain the same, because from 2008 when I started this program on Young Climate Savers, we were addressing the same group of people. The challenges remain the same, but what is that opportunities to address these challenges are increasing. And there's a lot of positive work that is happening, and communities are willing to accept if you are giving them to them in the way they understand best. So definitely the communities are facing the same challenges even now, but what I feel is that they are not getting the right kind of inputs into measuring, taking care of these challenges. So that is what we need to address. That is very important.
Thank you. Dr. Singh, I will come to you. You know, we in Telangana, natural farming, it's one of the pioneer state in terms of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh in natural farming. Now we are also seeing regenerative agriculture as one of the growing areas where a lot of research has been done, and there are pilot projects which is being undertaken in the country as well. All of this with the understanding that agriculture is one of the biggest emitters of GHG. So if we have to truly become net zero, we have to bring down the emission that is coming from agriculture practice. Agriculture impacts, so people are impacted because of climate change, but it is also contributing to climate change. So that is the reality. But in terms of adoption, when we talk about adaptation, when we talk about long-term resilience, do you think that natural farming, regenerative agriculture, earlier there was a lot of impetus on organic farming, but is it going to be commercially viable for smallholders in the long run? Because ultimately what, limited opportunities I have, they shift towards chemical fertilizer or something which is more readily available. And Farida ji brought a question of availability of seeds, right? So there are seeds which are available in the market, but then there are seeds which are more ecologically or environmentally sustainable, which may not be available in the market. So all of these, do you think for farmers, when we may have our larger objective goal around it, but for a farmer, for a smallholder farmer who just want to get his earning from the crop that he sows, these are the things which is going to make him or her commercially viable and successful and sustainable in the long run. So,
Thank you, Ajay ji. How much time you will give? 5
minutes.
5 minutes, okay. He has raised a question of natural farming. That I will answer at the last, because that is very controversial topic. So I will start with all, you can say, entire value chain and how we can make Mother Earth resilient, and with live example. Anybody can visit that landscape, solution is there with less rainfall. I will quote one example which is unique, and that is the first kind in the world. ICRISAT implemented one of the project in central India where about 25% land was fallow, permanent fallow, because of the water scarcity. And after seeing the success by the government of Uttar Pradesh, they allocated about 5,000 hectare landscape in 7 districts. We executed, and after seeing the success, then we came to the government, and one landscape that is 28,000 hectare, 40 villages, and water is not there since 15 years. You can't believe that about 40 to 50% land is permanent fallow. People were migrating.
Where was this?
That is in Tehrauli Tehsil of Jhansi district. Jhansi district, 40 villages. Then we had a discussion with one minister, state minister. Bundelkhand region. Then minister says, after seeing the work, minister invited us, and then he said there is a lot of problem, and he also belongs to that village, one of the village out of that 40 village. And he is about 75 years old. He is Mr. Hargobind Kushwaha, state minister status, vice president, International Bauth Research Institute, Lucknow. He said, I belongs to one of the village, but there is no water since 15 years. Can ICRISAT bring the water? He said, okay. And that region is receiving 550 millimeter of rainfall, too less. And if you see the rainfall of Jhansi, that is about 750 millimeter, but for particular that landscape, say 550 millimeter. Then he said, how bigger landscape you will take? Then I said, okay, at least whole tehsil. Then he said, how academic and research institutions can implement the activities in a whole tehsil, that is about 100 villages. Then we sat together. Then I said, okay, the landscape should be bigger so that the message should go to our Prime Minister. Because always there is a talk of Bundelkhand is suffering from water scarcity, there is a livelihood problems, farmers are migrating. So let us a bigger chunk so that we can pass on message to the state government along with Prime Minister. He convinced, and ultimately discussion was held, and after 2 years, we started from November 2022. We did the baseline survey, and out of 6,104 open and bore wells were there in the landscape. Out of that, 5,000, I remember precisely number is 5,452 open wells are dry, completely dry. There is no agricultural activities. People were suffering. Now I am coming to the base flow. This is the serious threat to the nation. Nation cannot survive. There is a policy fault also. I think I will take 3 minutes more. So now see, the base flow is declining. If you see the water in riverine system from the month of October to next June, that is base flow, basically base flow. And that has been declined about 1.5% of annual rainfall. If you go to Odisha, where we are getting about 2000 mm rainfall, and that is all primary data we have measured. We are measuring in 200 locations across the country just to know the scenario, and we came to know that base flow is in the range of 1.5 to 3% depending on the locations. Now that is the reason our river is drying. And if our river is drying, the contamination is at the landscape. That contamination should go from landscape to the sea through riverine system, from drainage network, river, then ultimately sea. That is already there. Now, two things I will relate: Punjab and Malihabad of Uttar Pradesh. Now, see, there is no research. Scientists is not daring to correlate the use of pesticide, insecticide with the quality of produce. In Malihabad, small pockets of Uttar Pradesh, 40% cancer cases of all UP is coming from Malihabad. Why? Something is there, water table is going down, people are using insecticide and pesticide, lot of exports of mango. And similar is the case with Punjab. 550 millimeter, they are taking two rice crops, they are consuming about 2000 millimeter of water, rest they are taking from the groundwater. And they are using insecticide and pesticide, all has contaminated the groundwater. Ultimately, it has came into the food chain. Although there is no scientific evidence, because everybody is afraid how to connect this use of insecticide, pesticide, extra exploitation of groundwater to the health. But that is there.
So
Now I am coming. I will take 1 minute so that I can complete that story.
Yes.
Bundelkhand region. So the process, the main thing is process which you adopt. How to involve the community. What I have realized, because I spent 26 years with science along with the farmers, I joined ICAR in Jhansi district and I did research at the farmers field. I realized that if you are transparent, dedicated, competent and you are engaging the farmers, then you can bring the farmers in all processes, consultation, planning, designing and execution, and you will get. And that kind of arrangement you can see in that landscape. 40 villages, farmers are looking after. Even all the interventions after planning and designing has been approved by the committee of farmers. There is a committee of officers also, district magistrate also, they are also knowing what is going on. And regularly at the 6-month interval, we are apprising to the ministers, and then ministers is apprising to our prime minister. Prime minister has already tweeted, out of 5,452, water has come up in 4,203 wells. So we have left 1 year, I think 100%. And our, do you know our member of parliament from Jhansi, he is Mr. Anurag Sharma, who is MD of Baidyanath. He promised that once the water wells will be rejuvenated, he will deliver a special speech in parliament. That model can be adopted. And now the discussion is going on. Now ICRISAT has assigned whole Bundelkhand region of UP part, 10 lakh hectare that is rain-fed, and that has been assigned ICRISAT for technical package.
So
Latest development is there.
thank you for sharing that. I have received a stinker that we need to wrap up in next 7 minutes. Discounting it was 10 minutes, 3 minutes उसमें से हो चुके हैं. So, and we have to go to audience as well. So, Madhulika, आपसे, the question that I wanted to ask, I mean, a similar question that I asked Dr. Singh. When we talk about community-led, is community-led necessarily also a commercially viable endeavor? And does policy supports that? And you have to answer in 3 minutes.
Yeah, hello, yes. Yes, this is 100% true. Before just going ahead, right, I'll not take much of time. I'll maintain the timings. But yeah, this is, as Madam has told and Sir is also telling, that until unless the language which we are using is the user friendly or the community friendly, right? We are not able to actually bringing on the same boat. Because what happened, the climate change is a very big topic and it's very difficult that you make people understand. Suppose in the Hyderabad, if still you ask in this particular hall also that how many people are feeling the climate change, I don't think anybody will say, अच्छा हाँ पहले ठंड ज़्यादा होती थी, अब थोड़ा गर्मी ज़्यादा होती है winters में, बस इतना थोड़ा बहुत difference. Otherwise, nobody can actually assume or interpret that what exactly the climate change is happening. So in those cases, mein, the results has to be which is very, very prominent, or they are actually required that. So in those cases, mein, what sir is telling is the required based model, right? Where the farmers definitely need, and they were doing the farming, and they really want that particular profession to be better off. And that's why they all come up and they have joined the hands that this particular land should be rejuvenated. But now what happened, as I'm continuously observing, that you have the rural areas, you have the peri-urban areas and the urban areas, right? The same model will not fit. You have to bring another model maybe for the same type of the farmers, because those farmers who were earlier the farmers now are the real estate people. Right, so in those conditions, to talk about the climate change, you have to talk in the different way, right? Where they can understand, अरे भैया पहले तो farming करते थे, अभी तो इसी जमीन को बेच के पैसे कमाना है. So in those conditions, में real estate is definitely a very commercial viable, but is that going to help? Definitely not. Right, so we have to come up with different kinds, and definitely maybe I am the person who is very passionate enough to work, okay, without the money, but it is not sustainable for everybody. It has to be done. So in those cases, like what we are doing is creating the lakes in the bamboo model or in the moringa model. So bamboo is again a plant which is very good for the remediating the water, as well as you can create so many things out of the bamboo. Right, so this is how you have to, again, those now, because those lakes you cannot do the fishing, those lakes you cannot have too much of the biodiversity, then how, what you do? Kya karna hai binka? Swimming pool model hai. What you can do it? So in those conditions, you have to come up with the different ideas where the community can come on and definitely indirectly is protecting the lake. So we have many kind of the models, because as I told that I'm working with this. One is definitely, we all call it participatory model, but this is not a very long way model. The simple thing is that the revenue generation model, or sometimes even I call it as a kind of community model where you have the temple model, right? It is very good. You have a Panditji there. In the temple, you have a Panditji there who's organizing everything, right? You are giving the Panchbhutam is a concept which we give to everybody. And then the community is going and supporting the temple, and the temple is indirectly is actually restoring the lakes, right, or restoring the natural resources. If you see what I have observed, many of the temples are on the top of the mountains, right, and even in Telangana we have the temples on the lakes only, starting of the lakes or ending of the lakes. The problem is that again we are not connected to those temples also properly. Some information is
I think the bigger problem is that there are a lot of good models, but
implementation is
implementation
not
and they are
proper.
not connected enough.
Here I would like to just finish with last 30 seconds. Earlier I have done computer engineering, and now I am an environmental engineer from JNTU. So many people used to ask me that how you are connecting your both degrees. Now I am actually able to connect, because now I have to teach the people or teach the environment with the help of the computer engineering or with the help of the AI to make them understand. We have the logic gates. Everybody know about the logic gates. So we have not, nor, many. One condition is a don't care condition, right? And many of the citizens, still we are in the don't care condition. If we are able to shift them towards one side, you will see that the people start working very well. So the problem is the inertia of the don't care condition. Everybody has a good amount of the awareness. Everybody knows very well. We know many things, but still we are not able to move because of that inertia. If we can complete
Don't
this,
care, we start caring, and that's what Earth Care is all about. Yeah. Thank you. Srinivas, I'm just giving you 3 minutes to conclude what there were few things that you wanted to speak about on energy model and basically research and innovation cell working with citizen scientists.
Thank you. or if we are really short of time, I can bail out. No. So I just would like to highlight some of the activities that we're doing. I said one is we're working on something what we call demand side energy management. That is, when it comes to electricity, we unknowingly consume the electricity without really bothering about where it is coming from, whether there are enough resources for us to consume more power, right? So to balance this power, the utility companies do something on the supply side. That is, they generate more power, or they do other kind of ramping up, ramping down based on the requirement. But this is going to change with renewables. When the green energy comes in, then we'll need either some kind of energy storage and other. One other alternate way is every unit of energy saved is equivalent to unit of energy generated, or even more. So that's what we are working on, is automating, trying to take some automating actions at the consumer side, like reducing the AC temperature. Every degree of AC temperature that you reduce saves 6% on the electricity side. Or things like pumps and other things, moving to higher energy efficiency pumps, or changing the time of use for appliances like electric charging, rather than interfering or overlapping with the grid peak, we move it to off hours. And these are being automated through software and AI-based technologies. So this is something that we're doing as a pilot demonstration in Delhi with 3 utility companies, 300 households. That's something we're trying to do. And based on this, we'll go back and do some regulatory policy advocacy. So that's one project. MSME decarbonization and energy intensity reduction is something that we have just started. We haven't gone too far ahead. At the moment, we are going through stakeholder consultations and trying to understand the challenges and how MSME industries are looking at decarbonization now that they're facing threat from CBAM or carbon border adjustment mechanisms and several other taxation regimes that are going to come up abroad. So now they're all of a sudden conscious about their energy footprint and looking at various initiatives. Traditionally, things have been like VFD drives and several other things that they were using, but now they're also looking at how they can do the primary energy reduction, that is coal, diesel, gas, and other forms of biomass that they use. How can we cut down on those? How can we use more regenerators, heat pumps, and several other things? So those are things that where there would be a lot of awareness creation that needs to happen, and there we are engaging with industry associations to do some of these activities. So it has just kick-started, but then we also intend to go forward beyond this, identify top 15 MSME clusters, say the textile cluster or pharma cluster, and then do some interventions in the real world with a few industries which can serve as a role model going forward. So that's something that we have just embarked upon. A third thing again is coming in terms of agriculture, right? This is something that I am very passionate about, gardening, agriculture, and other things. So when we reached out and understood so we visited some farmers in the Warangal area who were practicing integrated aquaculture and agriculture. So something like Koraminu is a very popular fish, hardy kind of fish breed, I understand. And for the small landholding farmers that have 1 acre or less and they're cultivating paddy, what they're saying is that we can allocate a 1/4 acre for aquaculture and use that water runoff for agriculture. It increases their income by almost 3x.
And these are coming from the community.
These are coming from the community. So there are NABARD loans which have been approved, and there are NGOs working with these farmers. So we have taken up, learned from the community, and now what we're trying to do is from the state government implement this with 100 villages.
So we are looking at models which are community driven, but then supported by industry associations, and supported by policymakers,
Correct.
supported by the state.
Yeah.
Right? I'll have to stop you there, and I would like to thank each one of you. Thank you so much for your inputs. We had to cut short the time to adjust for the delay that we had initially. I had full plans to had audience questions, but unfortunately, please ask your questions during the break that is going to follow. We are going to have a short break now, then we can also interact over. We are not having a break? Okay. So we are not having a break, but we'll have a break during the lunch time, and we can have conversations during that time. So thank you once again for patiently listening to this. Keep your question, note it down. We will get back to this one-on-one, offline, when we have had a break. Thank you once again, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the panel discussions, which has brought many insights out and many ideas taking over. I would now be requesting our moderator, Mr. Ajay, to please present a token of gratitude and appreciation to our panelists. Also, I request Ms. Rupa to please join us on stage while we do so. Lovely. All right, ma'am. Yes, I request you to please felicitate our moderator, who has taken a lot on mind, keeping up the time. Thank you very much, sir, for doing the honors. Also, I request Mr. Ajay and Ms. Rupa to please appreciate and say thank you to our panelists. Just summing the session up, Dr. Ramesh Singh said that many things are being taken up the process, and he's also given an example of Jhansi's district example. And Ma'am Madhulika, who's known as a Lady of Lake, she said that implementations of models are to be connected, and we have to start adopting the language which can motivate the generation now. And Mr. Srinivas said that a very good point he mentioned, 6% electricity can be saved if you just reduce 1 degree of AC. So making that point, thank you, sir. And Ms. Farida very, very well mentioned that the challenges then and now remains the same, but the opportunities to come up those challenges has increased, and we acknowledge that. Thank you very much, Ms. Farida, as well. This brings us to the photo opportunity of the panel 1 discussion. I request all the panelists to please come together for one quick picture. And we really appreciate you all for taking out your time and adding lots of value addition to this particular JSW, the Times of India Earth Care Awards 12th edition. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor to tell you that our special guest is here. Much awaited, we have with us Dr. G. Chandrasekhar Reddy Garu, our IFS Principal Secretary, Honorable Chief Minister, Principal Chief Conservator of Forest and Vice Chairman and Managing Director, Telangana Forest Development Corporation Limited. Sir, we look up to you on all the matters that are coming up, and especially today for the Earth Care Awards. Thank you so much for being here, and all of us are literally waiting to hear your message. We know that this particular initiative of JSW Earth Care Awards, this is the 12th edition, and we are all set to highlight even more impactful, scalable, and innovative solutions that are responding to the challenges posed by climate change. To just give you a short brief, this was introduced in the year 2008, the JSW Times of India Earth Care Awards, and is a pivotal platform for the recognition of visionaries and innovators who are responding to the adversities of climate change. And this particular platform has also developed the awards into a prominent forum for recognizing the green innovators from industries, government bodies, non-governmental entities, and individuals. And ladies and gentlemen, with this very short and not further to prolong this conversation, can we all put our hands together and please welcome on stage Dr. G. Chandrasekhar Reddy Garu. Sir, I request you to please join up on stage. A hearty welcome to you.
it's a little down. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, JSW and Times of India, for this opportunity. I get the goosebumps when I talk about the climate change and sustainability, because first question to me is, am I doing anything for that? So, well, being in government, we get plenty of opportunities to do that. Individually, yes or no, but as a government servant, I am sure as a forest officer, I had empty number of opportunities to contribute for climate mitigation. So to begin with, I boast myself what I have done. So then we'll go to the community aspects. So one very satisfying thing is, after 30 years of service in forest service, I realized that we do raise good plantations. It can never match to the natural forests. The question before me was whether we can create a natural forest. Is it possible? So we experimented in Yadadri district in Chautupal, in forest area, chosen about 2-3 acres of land and applied the Miyawaki principles with local modifications. And believe it, within a year time, it got transformed into exactly the way nature gives us the forest. And there's no doubt we have raised wonderful plantations, but even after 30 years, the fruit, the seed falls, but it doesn't germinate, sorry. We don't know what is the reason. Maybe weeds domination, we don't know what exactly, but in natural model, what we developed as a Yadadri model under Miyawaki principles, believe it, that 3 acres of land, the principles what we followed is the high density planting, random planting, 3-tier planting. These are the only 3 principles, and to support the high density planting, we enriched the soil. So soil enrichment is a must because it has to support the high density planting. Now within 10 months, it grows into a forest with 3-tiered levels, and it has become a safe home for all the animals in the neighborhood because it's a safe, dense forest area. So believe it, all mammals, small mammals means there's squirrels and all that, reptiles, many snakes, many birds. And with all this, they feel the safe home. Apart from that, birds bring lot of seed from the neighborhood and it falls there. And imagine the kind of biodiversity it develops inside. And it's a self-sustaining because lot of humus will be there and not a single drop of water it can let go. Because of the high density, it acts as an umbrella, it acts as a humus sponge, and a lot of seed, a lot of cover on the soil. So the idea is, it is possible to get back the nature. And the same concept is adopted in Palle Prakriti Vanam in our state. With a lot of modifications, of course. And all the 12,000 villages, we have developed Palle Prakriti Vanams. I'm sure had it been done the way it is done in the forest, it would have been a biodiversity gene pool in every village. With all the local species, with all the local animals feeling it as a safe home, it is possible and still it can be developed further in all the villages with a community approach. That I feel proud about and thought of sharing with you. That's one aspect. Second aspect, what I boast myself is, again, water harvesting. Suhas Vani Garunar, we have worked together in many situations. Watershed management is one of the very good subject which is close to my heart. Watershed plus livelihoods. That's where my career has advanced much more because of the learning from the experts in various fields. So what we were doing in watershed program is basically to create a space to capture the rainwater. So one day we realized there are large number of dried up dug wells in the farmlands. Earlier, about 30-40 years back, there was a Million Wells program launched by the government of India in the small and marginal farmers' lands. So those are all dried up because the groundwater table has gone down. Now what can be done with the space available in those million wells? So what we have done is, we just made a diversion drain from where the rainwater is going out of that farm field, diverted towards the empty dug well, made a silt trap, connected that silt trap with a pipeline to the empty well. Believe it, for every rainy day, it was getting filled up. And in a season, not less than 10 to 15 times it got filled up. You know the volume of the dug well. And water dissipation or percolation is very fast, which definitely recharges the bore wells in the neighborhood and added to the irrigation facility. So that is one aspect which I realized that I contributed very well in that direction. What? Till what time? All right. So another important thing where I am currently working as a vice chairman and managing director for a corporation. You know, corporations are all business driven and the profit driven. So I had to choose whether I should go in a sustainable way or not. As a vice chairman and managing director, my job is to get the profits and ensure the sustainability of the company, forget about everything else. So, but we have chosen a path of sustainable development. So in order to follow those principles, some driving force or motivation has to be existing for us. So the existing motivation was forest certification. Forest certification by the Forest Stewardship Council, which certifies the forest if it is sustainably managed. For that, 120 parameters are there, which you need to comply to get that certificate, which is given by the international agency, and also international auditors are appointed to evaluate whether we are following that 120 principles criteria or not. So it was a great learning, first of all. What is that sustainability criteria and why should we follow and what is the importance of it? Can't believe it. I mean, I'm so proud now to follow those principles. One, because we are our corporation area is completely certified as a sustainable development area, which fetches me minimum of 3 crores additional revenue for having that certificate because of the premium value which I add to my produce from the forest. That is a minimum guarantee which I get. But more than that, the FSC symbol, some of you must have seen tick and tree, which is there on all Tetra Paks. So that tick and tree symbol gives more value to the paper maker who is making the packing material. So he is giving us much more higher price when we e-auction the produce, that is pulpwood. Believe it, in the last 3 years, when I joined the corporation, it was 3,500. Yesterday, I sold it for 11,000 rupees per ton, eucalyptus. I mean, more than the profit, what we got the satisfaction is we are compliant with the sustainable principles. The labor who are working with us, we never bothered about them. And you know, we have to follow the international standards for our labor camps. We have to send the doctor every week. We have to provide the safe drinking water. We have to provide them the mosquito nets. We have to give them safety equipment for harvesting or loading, unloading all those materials. So it's a complete shift what we had 2 years back and what we have now. And I'm very happy. Our entire ecosystem in respect of laborers, our contractors, our purchasers, everyone now understands what is that sustainability is all about. Now coming to the recent edition in Botanical Garden, Hyderabad, I launched one program called Connect Culture with Nature at Botanical Gardens, Hyderabad. Connect culture with nature. What is the issue is, you know, my office is within the Botanical Garden in Gachibowli. I used to see number of children coming every day, not less than 400 to 500 children comes to the, on the name of environmental education. They come, they look, they play in the lawns, they play in the children park area, they sit under the trees, have food and go. Maybe they'll be taken in a small route, whenever the teachers are interested. So then I realized this is not the way of environmental education. So best way is to connect the children, how to introduce the plants to the children. See, as a forester, I can identify only 200-300 plants. Some of the foresters sitting may identify 1,000 plants, but there are lakhs of plants in nature. So how do we introduce the plants to the children? So I had a major challenge because I'm not good at identification of the plants, though I studied BSc forestry. I want children to learn. So what I decided is, I've pledged two things in my mind. One is, I will not plant a plant which is already existing in the botanical garden. So that takes me to the variety of plants which can be planted in the botanical garden. Second thing, I'll plant, but who will know about those plants? So I want to go in a thematic way. Thematic way is, I realize that 75th year of independence is there. In the next 3 years, we'll have the 75th Indian Republic Day celebrations. So we thought 75, and this year it is the 75th Vanamohotsam also. So 75 theme I have chosen. 75 concepts based planting I have planted. It's just a 200, 300, 500 yards area that will have one theme. For example, pencil and eraser garden. Pencil wood comes from where? Eraser latex comes from where? Only those plants will be planted, that too in a pencil and eraser shape only. And there will be a mural in front of it with a pencil and rubber, eraser, with a hedge all around, so that children will go there. They realize that they can take a selfie with the pencil and eraser. They can see the plants which are giving them the pencil and the eraser. Like that, believe it, when I started writing down, there were 100 and odd themes. But I struck down because the plants were overlapping into the themes. I'll share 2-3 more examples. Pan garden. Pan has got not less than 12 ingredients. Kasu, katta, aku, then lavangam, ilaichi, all those plants at one place. It's called pan garden. Kagas garden. Traditionally, we made paper from various plants. Now we are using a different material. So it's a kagas garden. You will have a mural of book in front of it. Sangeeta Vanam. From flute to tabla. What are the woods which you use for making those? Krida Vanam. Sports tree garden. From cricket bat to so carom coins to the billiards table. Whatever wood you are using, only those plants will be planted. So like that for 75 themes. These days, herbal garden, we put every leaf and drink it as a herbal tea. So, Teiniti Vanam, tea garden. So, 75 themes we have displayed connecting our culture with nature. Batkama garden, we know only marigold flowers. But there are many flowers which are traditionally used for making the Batkama. So, idea is to introduce the culture along with the plants. That we have been successful, and I'm sure the footfall in the botanical garden increased in the last 3 years by almost 4 times. 1 lakh was there, now 4 lakh people are visiting. Right, in the recent past, we have done something like, I would say, fine paddy cultivation. Recently, 500 rupees bonus, which is announced by the government. Probably it adds to our sustainability because it reduces a lot of transport, lot of illegal selling of the smuggling of the rice, because it is produced here and consumed here. Because nobody eats the, what is that, doddu biyyam antaru, that will be given in the FPS, but it goes to the somewhere else. So that could be adding to our sustainability to some extent. Another important aspect which I forgot, in Hyderabad, you know, a lot of lakes and a lot of forests. Forests you may not be knowing, but the lake story you have been listening for the last 1 month in a large scale at least. There are not less than 7,000 tanks within the HMDA region, and within the GHMC region, probably 3,000 tanks. Most of them disappeared. We woke up early. Forest officers woke up early. We have something like 150 forest blocks, which are about 1.5 lakh acres of area, and that is spread over in the HMDA region. We call it as a reserve forest blocks. There are 150 reserve forest blocks. You know, each of them are guarded now with a fencing, with a walking tracks, with a visitors amenities to a limited extent, because we want the neighborhood people to come inside and do the walking the way KBR or Botanical Garden is developed. Some of you must have visited Kanlakoya Oxygen Park. Some of you must have gone to the Narepalli, Bhaginagar, Nandanovanam. So these are basically, I have written a book on climate resilient urban ecosystems, about 5 years back. All the urban forests were becoming junkyards basically. City is expanding, the forests are coming inside the city. Now everybody wants the shortcuts to their home. So go through the forest or apply for the forest diversion for the nearest route. Overnight, church comes, masjid comes, temple comes. Overnight, cremation happens, burial happens. Overnight, even the municipal people come and dump the junk, or the construction waste material will be dumped. All this, the forests were observing. And the new colonies were letting the sewage inside the reserve forest areas because sewage network is not there. So everything is happening in the forest areas. So we realized quickly, so we could save our forests. Now everything is under control. Luckily, we don't have encroachments in the forest areas in Hyderabad. Greediness is there to some extent, going to the courts and claiming the things, but luckily we fenced every area, and I'm sure that's going to contribute a lot to the Hyderabad in future as a sustainability. One more experiment which I have done in the recent past. I'm sorry, I'm boasting myself too much. Thank you. So as a part of the TSFDC, we have taken up miscellaneous plantations. I'll come to that, what it is. You know, eucalyptus is our major produce. You may accuse me for that, but we are sustainably producing. I've already claimed that. I produce eucalyptus in bamboo, nothing else in the corporation. Okay? So, since the city is expanding, some of my leased areas from the forest department where I cultivate the eucalyptus also coming inside the city. Because eucalyptus has got 18 years rotation. 6 years, 6 years, 6 years, 3 crops we take. So if I plant today, the crop will remain for 18 years. Imagine where will be the city after 18 years. So all the eucalyptus plantations will be within the city and we'll be beyond the city. I didn't want that scenario to exist in Hyderabad. So we stopped planting eucalyptus within the RRR region for the last 3 years. So what we did is, we have chosen a local species. I call them as a vintage trees. The sandalwood, the red sanders, the rosewood, the teak. These are the 4 vintage trees. But for corporation, it is of no use because it's a long rotation crops. Only after the new MD joins, after 40 years, the crop will come. So it's nobody's baby. So my staff, they were telling that if you plant sandalwood, somebody will get away with it. They will theft. I said, it's okay. If it is fetching ₹1 million, then I'll be producing so many number of millionaires in Hyderabad. Okay. So really, I have planted about 2 lakh trees. So 2 lakh millionaires I'll be producing down the line. Okay. Now, for corporation, what is the use? As a corporate VC and MD, that is not an encouraging thing for me. So what I did is, between these vintage trees, we have gone for 2 terrestrial casuarina plants. Sarugudu antaru kada. So terrestrial casuarina plants we have put, and in between, we have put the local species, that is custard apple. Custard apple is famous in all surrounding the Hyderabad. So within 5 years, I can remove the casuarina trees, which will get back my investment, whatever I invested, and the fruit, annually it comes. It could be, we can sell it as a lease, or at least I'll be enriching the nutritional aspects for Hyderabad again. So those are the aspects on which we worked, but ultimately what is we are bringing the sustainability or resilience to the city. Okay? How to make the how to bring the climate resilience to the city. Now, whether it pays me or not, we have to think on 3 lines. Whatever strategy we evolve for the society or with community at individual level, first principle we have to follow is the triple bottom line theory, which is a basis for the sustainable development. Social acceptability, environmental sustainability, economic viability. If economic viability is not there, nobody is going to work for it. Okay? Any industry or any initiative. If environmental sustainability is not there, maybe you will not get the clearance from the loss of the land. Okay? Social acceptability, if it is not there, you will have a resistance from the society. But if these 3 are to be balanced, if any of them are taller or shorter, there is an imbalance. There cannot be a sustainability. So the three legs of the stool that is called triple bottom line has to be balanced to get the sustainability to the any initiative. So that is a fundamental principle we have to follow for any strategy. Then second thing is any industry or anything, they have to shift their approach from compliance to commitment. What they are doing right now in the last 4-5 decades, their compliance with the laws of the land. You have environmental clearance subject to so and so conditions. So you comply with the conditions, that's enough. But go beyond that. Go beyond that and make some commitments for the sustainability. So all the industries, they have to adopt that principle of responsible business model. Now the cleaner and cheaper success stories are many which are brought forth by the Terry. And it's a simple logic. Basically, if people become sick in any industry, production will fall and you will have to bear the cost of health costs for the people. So cleaner is cheaper is always a fundamental principle for whatever strategy we evolve. And all our strategies will revolve around soil, water, air, forest, energy. Only these 5 aspects. Whatever strategy we aim at bringing it, mitigating the climate challenges, these are the 5 aspects we have to look at to make any sustainable practice at a social level. Now, what are we planning with respect to this? You know, about 2 decades back when we were working in the districts, 2.5 decades back, we had the community organizations. There was a watershed association. There was a water users association for every tank. There is a Vanasamrakshan Samiti for every forest block. What are those? It's a community strategies, which we have done 2.5 decades back as a strategy for sustaining the life or ensuring the productivity in the villages in terms of conserving water, in terms of conserving soil, in terms of conserving the biodiversity. But these are forgotten now. So what we are doing, we are making startups. So the new approaches, all the knowledge is in the palm. There's no need for networking. Those are the things. I mean, village level grassroots networking was so strong. That was a Semal Landang approach in South Korea, self-help movement basically. And we have, in spite of all this, right now the women network in Telangana is very strong. And I'm sure we can leverage on them for any kind of initiatives on sustainable development. Recently, I have been to the Guntur district in Andhra Pradesh. I have not been to agriculture field for a long time actually. So I went to see the natural farming, which the Raitu Sadhikara Samakya is doing in Andhra Pradesh. And it's a wonderful sustainable development model anybody can think of. And without the knowledge of that, I practiced in the Yadadri model of natural forest development. It's basically the enrichment of the soil in natural manner. And believe it, it's seeing is believing actually. The difference between the chemically grown crop and the naturally formed crop is so obvious in terms of soil texture, in terms of the growth of the plants, in terms of the yields, and in terms of the input cost. So ultimately, penalty of using the natural farming is not going to be that much, though the yields may drop to some extent in the initial years, but it's going to pay in the long run. And the cost benefit analysis is very good because costs are going to reduce drastically. So I'm sure most of the people sitting here definitely get convinced with that model of natural farming, because I realize that soil without the life, completely skeletal soil, without the microbes in it, there is no nutrient recycling happening in the soil. If nutrient recycling is not happening, it cannot support the life of another plant, another plant, that is another life. So first we have to bring in the life to the soil. And only way of bringing the life to the soil is the microbes. And that's what they do in the natural farming practice. Then recently we have had an interaction with the Global Alliance for Sustainable Development team in Hyderabad, some of the aspect they were suggesting is in place of biogas plants, they suggested the biodigesters. It's a completely packed thing which will not emit any methane to the atmosphere. So that's one cheaper way of producing the energy at the village level. Then low-cost greenhouse farming, and what we introduced about 4-5 years back is a very costly greenhouses, 25 lakhs input and all that. But they suggested only 50 lakhs low-cost greenhouses in 20% of the area of the owner of the land. He can produce 50% extra crop than what he was getting earlier. And this experiment is done in Maharashtra. They produce, within the greenhouse, they produce the vegetables, and rest of the area they go for the various kinds of livelihoods. It could be poultry, it could be fisheries, it could be tree-based fruit production, it could be forest produce, anything. So, but it's a multiple livelihood-based model, and farmer is not at the risk because what he is getting earlier, he is getting more than 50% within the 20% of the area. So this is one of the useful models which we can practice. Then Government of India scheme Surya Ghar is another aspect which the community can think of and adopt on a large scale, and there's a huge program on Government of India side also. Then probably the distinguished people sitting here could think of some model on Podu lands which we give on shifting cultivation. About 6 lakh acres of forest land is given as a pattas to the tribals who are cultivating. Probably we can have a sustainable agriculture model for those areas. So if anything, any suggestions are there on that aspect, we can push through government to some extent. So please do that. So finally, what I would say that planting is a pinnace for all sins, because the only chlorophyll has the capacity to digest, absorb the carbon dioxide, which is the basic villain for the climate change. So only chlorophyll can do that. And we have crossed all limits of sustainability. Only our effort can bring back us to, first effort is to bring back to the sustainability and continue on the sustainability. So planting is a best solution and no regret solution. Second thing is whatever we discuss here. I'm sure across the globe, there are not less than 10,000 conferences are happening on climate change, surely even on today. And it's happening for the last 2 decades. So all the discussion, all the learning has to go to the dining table. That is a message from the Honorable Prime Minister to discuss at the dining table to make a difference at the individual level to mitigate the climate change aspects. Thank you very much, JSW and the Times of India for giving me this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for being here with us. We have seen you, hosted you on many platforms, but the messages and the facts that you have shared with us today really adds value. Thank you so much for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a huge round of applause to the gentleman who is making all efforts to take care of our Mother Earth. Can I request Ms. Rupa to please join me and present a plant sapling wherein this is a part of our appreciation and gratitude towards his presence this day. Ladies and gentlemen, both the hands going up in air and putting our hands together for all the message that he has shared with us. Sir also spoke about many points, but then a few highlighters if I get a chance to share. Low-cost greenhouse farming, where he mentioned that 20% of the area, if the farmers use 50% of it, he can grow extra crop. Truly admirable. Sir also mentioned many factors and many areas like the triple bottom line rule, soil, water, air, forest and energy are the revolving around sustainable changes. And sir also said that he will do all that he can and also to pass to the next generation. So it is not about what he is getting today or what you and me are getting today, but this effort and this initiative or every initiative which all of us will take will give a sustainable, greener life to our next generations coming up. So thank you very much once again, sir. And now I would like to take this honor and opportunity to request our next presenter to join me. As we are moving the next segment, I would now be inviting one of our past winners from the Earth Care Awards. And before that, can I please have the AV on screen, Maitri Aquatech AV. Let's have it on screen, ladies and gentlemen.
With fresh water being a finite source, mankind is always challenged with the problem of insufficient sources of water. Only 1% of fresh water is available for use. This has led to over-extraction of water from groundwater aquifers and other water bodies, causing them to dry up. Maitri Aquatech. In this endeavor, the company has developed an innovative solution called Meghdoodh. It takes advantage of the rising humidity, converting water vapor in the air to water, filtering it through a multi-stage process, and finally mineralizing and dispensing it post-UV treatment. This water meets the WHO and Indian standards of drinking water quality.
As we have just seen the AV, it gives me honor to welcome that very gentleman who's behind, in front, all around the project. Can I please request Mr. Naveen Mathur, CEO, Maitri Aquatech, to please join us on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, giving a hands together and calling on stage the past winner of Earth Care Awards, the gentleman making all the difference. Sir, very warm welcome. I'm a little shorter, so I think I'll have to adjust the mic for you.
Thank you very much, and a very, very good afternoon to everyone. It's an honor to be here. This is our planet, our home, and home for future generations to come. It is also our only home, and only we, individually, as well as collectively, can make a difference. I think we have had wonderful sharing of some experiences, excellent learnings in the earlier half of the day, which goes to prove a point that every drop counts, every initiative makes a big difference. Because we all know that climate change is there to stay. That is the stark reality of today. It is extremely important to see what we can do individually as well as collectively to make a difference. A very big thank you to JSW and Times of Group for taking this initiative for hosting the Earth Care Awards. It has been a very rewarding experience going through the entire journey. The entire selection, the entire process was extremely rewarding for us as a company. There was a lot of learning which we had, and this award itself is extremely prestigious because it goes to show that in our small, humble way, we are able to make that small difference, a difference for a better tomorrow for generations to come. Before that, let me just quickly tell you what we do and what is the work which got recognized. So our company, rather I would say our company, Maitri Aquatech, is not a company but a movement for a change for a better tomorrow. What we do is we generate water. Yes, I'm talking about generating water literally from thin air, and that too if the requirement is for millions and millions of liters for every single day. And the proof of the eating, as they say, is always proof of the pudding is in the eating. So I'll talk a little bit more about this. Yeah, can I just... Yeah. We all know that... Okay, sure. We all know that water is an existential issue for our planet. In fact, this is one of the biggest challenges being faced because of climate changes. India is one of the most water-stressed nations in the world. According to a recent report by Niti Aayog, we are not talking next few decades, but we are talking about next few years. The gap between demand and supply of water in India is going to only increase, and the deficit is expected to be about close to 40% by 2030. 21 of the major cities in India, including Hyderabad where we are, according to a report by Niti Aayog, will not have sufficient groundwater to meet its requirements. The story is the same when we look at the entire global south, which is a home for most of the world's population, which is where most of the development is happening. But guess what? That is where all existing water bodies are being relentlessly exploited. There are challenges both in terms of water availability as well as contamination of existing sources of water. Something which is probably lesser known to many is that the water in the air is an infinite source. In fact, if you look at it, it's the original source of all water. Because how do we get water essentially? It is by the natural water cycle or the rain cycle. There is an evaporation, condensation, cloud formation, and you get rainfall. And that is exactly what we do. We tap into this unlimited source to generate water. It is highly sustainable, highly scalable, and most important, every glass that you're drinking of air water, you're saving 3 to 4 glasses for the next generation. That is the power of this technology. That is the power of the innovation. Very important, while you're doing that, there is no exploitation of existing sources of water. There is no carbon or plastic footprint in movement of water. This is a predictable and a perennial source because it is based on a simple scientific principle. I think we can skip this. Yeah. I think I just wanted to talk about after receiving the award 2 years back, there's been a huge traction with this technology. Thanks a lot once again to Times as well as JSW for recognizing our small initiative, an initiative which started in Hyderabad, and today as an organization I'm happy to inform you that we are present in 37 countries and counting with over 1800 projects. The videos which was played earlier talked about 600 projects. That was 2 years back. And now we are talking of 1800 projects and counting. These are just examples of some of the projects which we have installed in the last 2 years. From meeting the potable water requirements of large global corporates to meeting water requirements of underserved communities in schools, hospitals, to meeting the requirement of a public water infrastructure by creating water from air kiosks at railway stations. Incidentally, we have the largest chain of air water kiosks in Mumbai. To also meeting the industrial requirements of the bottled water industry. We have set up a number of bottled water plants which use air as the only source to meet the entire water requirements. And as we speak, we are now setting up a bottled water plant even in the US. In fact, all this kudos again to Times of India, and I think a thumping applause to Times of India and JSW for this initiative, because I think it gave us the opportunity to talk about this tech. A lot of people, there was a lack of awareness of this technology, and after this award, a lot of people got to know about it. There was a lot of publicity which was done by the Times Group, and today we were also invited by NASA and Berkeley to present this technology to global leaders to see how you can not only solve for water-related issues in the planet, but now they are also wanting to see what you can do beyond planet Earth using this technology. As a technology, we have received a lot of recognition after the EarthCare recognition. Our founder and managing director, Mr. Ramkrishna, is the only Indian who was recognized as the global SDG pioneer for this technology, for bringing technology which is aimed at water security. We were also recognized by His Highness, the ruler of Dubai, for a technology which ensures not only water security for humans, but it also ensures not just potable water security, but it also ensures food security at the end of the day. Because without water, there is no life on earth. We've done a lot of work, development. I don't, for the paucity of time, let's just rush through the slides. We've done a lot of work, and we are trying to, because at Maitri, we always believe in challenging status quo and to see what we can do beyond what we are doing. So we have extended, I just want to talk about one initiative. Do you see the image in the center? What we have done is, we have used this technology today as a forward integration. We have used the same technology not just to provide potable water, but also as a side product, fresh air cooling for a cold room. So what you can do is, with our innovative systems which are called Meghdut, you can take this wherever you want and ensure food security by preserving fruits and vegetables, because as a side product you get cold air, and that is can be used for food conservation. So something which is extremely useful for farmers, because 40% of the global produce is wasted because there is no way of keeping it under refrigerated environment. So this is as a side product. We've also we have been doing a number of projects to see how we can extend it with various other applications. I think because of paucity of time, I will stop my presentation here. But yes, what started as food, simple potable water security is now we are talking food security, and eventually, it is a technology which is there to last for generations to come and will complement all the other efforts which are taken by a lot of you all in this room as well, to ensure that something which is so existential and so important that it literally flows in our blood, that is water, is available to everyone. Thank you very much.
Sir, I request you to please stay back here. I request Ms. Rupa to please join me on stage. We have seen literally the journey of our dear winner last time, from where he started and where he's grown, and he's on it further. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the gentleman, Mr. Naveen Mathur, CEO, Maitri Aquatech. Examples like this motivates people like us in this hall. Moving further to the next segment of our event. And now we will be opening up for the next segment of panel discussions. But before that, once again, I reiterate everyone that your presence on social media is something what we used to do long back, go people and meet, but everything is at the connectivity of your fingertips. But if you want to really know about the achievements, the initiatives, then please do log on to www.earthcareawards.com. Also, we are available on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram with the same handle, that is @EarthCareAwards. So this is going to be one platform where you can learn about the global initiatives as well as the national and city level initiatives. I congratulate you, Mr. Naveen. Thank you very much for the showcase. I know due to the time sense we had to cut it short, but then it was much informative. Thank you. And now it gives me pleasure to invite and get started with the next panel discussion. Moving to our second panel discussion of the day, the topic being driving sustainability, emerging business solutions for climate action. And for the same, I would first like to invite our dear moderator. Can I please request Mr. Ajay Pandey, founder director of Think Through Consulting Private Limited, to join me on stage. Thank you, sir. Followed by which I would be requesting our panelists to join me on stage. Can I request Sri Krishna Balachandran ji, Director Sustainability Solutions Recycle, to join me on stage, An expert in plastic waste recycling and building capacities with government and social enterprises, he holds years of experience in inclusive and technology-led waste management, establishing a plastic recycling ecosystem around the country in partnership with local government, businesses, recyclers, and organizations in social sector. It's great to know about you, sir. A hearty welcome. Next, can I please request Dr. Anant Mariganti, Executive Director, Hyderabad Urban Lab, to please join me on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the claps can keep roaring. He's a geographer with a PhD from the University of Minnesota and has taught at several universities in India. He is deeply committed to mentoring the next generation of scholars, promoting geographical thinking and fostering collaborations that bridges academia and real-world impact. Sir, a hearty welcome to you. The next panelist to join me on stage, but before that, let me tell you that when you put these two hands together, it gives you positive vibrations and makes you more energized, right? So the glands which are inside also keeps you active, your memory active, your brain active, and then you can make notes as well. So why don't we do this exercise when I'm calling every gentleman or the lady on stage? So can we please invite Dr. Suhas P. Wani, former Director Asia and Founding Director ICRISAT Development Center, to join me on stage. Sir, everyone is exercising before you come. He has contributed 6 strategy papers from the PMO and published more than 600 research papers. He's also recognized as one of the 50 most impactful leaders in water and water management. And now the rest sets with the tone of Mr. Ajay taking the session forward. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jyoti, once again. It's working. At the cost of being repetitive and you seeing me once more, I am not going to speak much. This is a very short panel. We have been given 30 minutes, out of which 2 minutes is already gone. And we have, Mr. Wani and with Anant and Sri Krishna. I am also, this is a kind of a very diverse panel. We have people from different background, and there is a lot to learn. So what I'm going to do, and last time we could not get to the audience, get to the participants, so I'm going to correct that also. So given the privilege that I have to be moderator for this session, first of all, I welcome you all. Thank you so much for being part of this. And what I will do is, I will, take 3 questions from the distinguished audience here. The topic is there, which is when we are talking about, can we change the topic? Because I think the topic of this panel is, of course, we are talking about community-led, but we are also talking about the role of emerging business in sustainable development or in climate action. So, on the previous topic, which was community-led strategies for climate change, as well as this topic, which we're talking about emerging business and the role of emerging business, we had a wonderful start or I would say a precursor where Mr. Naveen gave his presentation, Maitri, as a business which was started and which also won the award in previous years, based on the kind of innovative model that he could think of, and he could take it to scale. And now he's in 37 countries, which is really a remarkable achievement. And we have Sri Krishna here, who have been in consulting and have been working, and then he started recycle. You working with Recycle. You started it. You're part of the team, and which is again an emerging business working on waste management. So, and Mr. Wani, Dr. Wani is an authority when it comes to watershed development, when it comes to environmental. I would say one of the pioneers in this particular sector. We are very fortunate to have him here and learn about how of course, the experiences are there, but how all those experiences will now convert into something which is, even when we talk about natural resource management or agriculture, the question that I was asking earlier as well, how it will convert into a profitable venture, a commercial venture that we can bring in. And Dr. Anant is representing the Urban Research Hub. So, would like to understand how you have been working on the impact of climate change, understanding the different scenarios there. So how we can get into making this not just a exercise which is funded exercise, but also kind of a self-funding mode, where one of the biggest challenge of fighting with climate change, if you talk to people in the government, the head of governments in a lot of smaller countries, is that did not have funding. So they need to, when you're talking about technology development and all, so you need all of those. So I would request, on the topics that we have, I just mentioned, if you can speak for a few minutes, 5 minutes each, and then we will go to the audience. We'll take one question each, 3 questions, and then if time permits, we will have another round, but I think that is the format we are going to follow. So we'll start with you, Sri Krishna.
Thank you, Mr. Jai. Very, very many thanks to JSW and Times of India for inviting us and doing this event in Hyderabad. I think this is the run-up to the larger Earthcare Award event that will happen. So, we are from, I am from Recycle. Recycle is a technology startup based in waste management and recycling from Hyderabad. We work across the different brands. We do 2 broad things. Basically, we work with different corporates on their recycling, which is on plastic waste, e-waste, batteries, tires, and other stuff. And we also have a marketplace where we channelize raw materials for recyclers. So, and much more, we also work with governments and other projects that we do. So, climate change and clean tech or circularity tech, there are a lot more new terms on sustainability. And we also work on all of that, and it's been a very enriching experience since morning across the different aspects, the diversity of what all sector climate change impacts, air, water, soil, forest, and everything else. But we from our perspective, we look at it completely from the waste and circularity perspective. I will talk about a couple of very interesting projects and how it is all linked to what we do. So interestingly, there is, we all know about tourist places, about eco-sensitive geographies. We work on very, very fragile ecosystems. So this is one of the projects that we started way back in 2021 when Prime Minister announced in the Mann Ki Baat that Kedarnath is a place where there is a lot of plastic pollution that is happening because tourists come and then they pollute. And then in a fragile ecosystem, it is a sacred place. And in Kedarnath, when people throw waste, first of all, it is too difficult once a waste goes into the valley or the mountain. It is very difficult and expensive to collect. Even if you collect, it is very difficult to do anything with it because 6 months there is heavy snowfall. The temple is closed only 6 months. It is done. So based on that, we have worked on several initiatives. We thought we should take the initiative. We traveled from here, from Hyderabad all the way to Kedarnath, and try and understand what kind of initiatives we can do. And we started working out on something called a deposit refund system. So every bottle of water that you buy in Kedarnath and now across all dhams, there is a QR code that is there on each of the bottle. Against a deposit, if there is a 20 rupee bottle, you buy it at 30 rupees. And then once you use, for us as our behavior is like till the time the last drop of water is there in the bottle, we will hold on to that bottle. By the second the last drop of the water is done in the bottle, then we cannot hold it anymore in our hands. We will just look at some place to just throw it here and there. So now you know that you paid 10 rupees for that bottle. If you return that in some place, you will get your 10 rupees back. Even when we tried incentivizing without this deposit, didn't work. But when we said that first you give 10 rupees and then when you finish it off, we will return it back. And that really changed. We are now getting clean plastic bottles that we are taking all the way from Kedarnath for recycling, through which we are making t-shirts, shoes and everything else. It is a profitable business. It is a sustainable business. And I'm so happy to say that we have now partnered with JSW Foundation since last 1 year to do this. And it's a very, very successful initiative because JSW already has done a lot of work in Kedarnath after the floods to reconstruct. So this is a typical place of convergence of business model, environment, sustainability, recycling, corporate involvement and building an overall sustainable business. So it has multifaceted, and we also see today that there are some people who travel all the way there and for whom those 10 rupees doesn't matter. If we spend thousands and lakhs in going there, this 10 rupees for a bottle doesn't matter. I don't have time, so I will just throw it wherever it is. But the local ecosystem, the waste pickers, the Godawalas, Pittuwalas, whoever is there in that local system, they are picking that bottle and coming and returning it in our center. For each bottle, they get 10 rupees because somebody else paid the deposit. And the polluter pay principles also works there. So now with this, we are working with the various state governments in doing that. And also various corporates, our ecosystem is there. So this is one of the example I thought I will touch. Another point is that we also do a digital marketplace. We also work with various brands like Bisleri, Coke, Pepsi and ITC and many brands for them to see how to bring this overall ecosystem from a waste to circularity, to bring more recycled content into plastic packaging and lot more. So overall, there are opportunities. Companies need to look at packaging differently. Companies need to look at design very differently. Companies need to look at overall integrated approaches involving the local community, involving the local ecosystem, protecting nature, and also building a sustainable business model. It is absolutely possible. It was just a concept. It was a wish. Now it is no more a wish. It is also a mandate, but more than a mandate, it is also a commitment, and we need to do that. So that is a very brief introduction on what we touch upon and some key projects. I thought because JSW is there, I cannot not mention what we are doing with JSW. We also work with JSW Steel, JSW Cement, a lot of other in the JSW plants as well in different places. But overall, this approach and the earth care and all other things. I used to be a student way back in 2008 when this was there. I used to be one of the participants there, attending the same thing as a student, and I'm so happy that I've come to this side in 15 years.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent, Sri Krishna. Yes, Dr. Vani.
Thank you. I would say that the industry and the common people have to work together, and I will elaborate the example how it can happen. For example, land and water are very critical for the life as such, for the human beings as such. And both these resources, that is, which are on the earth, are getting depleted. You have seen in the earlier slide, by 2030, I would say by 2025, 1/3 of the Indian population will face the water scarcity. As a country, we are on the top list of water scarce countries because our per capita water availability has depleted from 5,000 cubic meters per annum to 800 cubic meters per annum. And once you come below 1500, then you are water scarce country. And that's what is happening with the country as such. But most of us are not aware because from the childhood, it has been imbibed on our mind that water is a given gift by the God. Pani jaisa paisa bahao. That's what we were told as a proverb in the childhood. Now, we have to reverse that and we'll have to say that paise jaisa pani baha rahe ho aap. Because we have the money, but we don't have the water as such. Hyderabad, which is boasting so much of water availability and water coming from other rivers like Godavari and others, and now the policy comes in, 20,000 liters of water is free for family. Early morning, 4:30 water comes in our area, and you can wake up and see even at 6 o'clock, the road is full of water because all taps are open. No one wants to get up at 4:30 to put up the water, and that water comes on the street. Same thing happens in our daily use. Whether you are shaving, brushing, your tap is open, running. Half glass you drink, throw it water. I am sure in this conference, half of the bottles may be half filled because half we have drunk and half will go waste. After 10 minutes, that guy will come and collect all the bottles and throw the water out. So what it means that for anything which you are targeting, you need a particular aspect to be taken into account. 2030 CRS team has reviewed more than 100,000 papers across the world why poverty is not reduced in this world. For the simple reason, small is ugly in our eyes. But out of 155 million farmers, 80% of the farmers are small and marginal. No scientist would like to work with these small farm holders. They would like to work in the research station because it is secure, protected. You can give the water whenever you want and publish a paper. So that review paper which has come in the Nature clearly indicated that people have to be blamed from not only the farmers but the first scientists, the scientific directors, the publishers, because no one wants to publish the paper which is done in the villages. You don't have enough number of replications, you don't have this, that, and all that sort of thing. So that's the story which basically happens, and most of the time scientists work on the supply driven things. मैं बताता हूँ, आप follow करो. We think that farmer doesn't have any knowledge at all, but forget that he or she has experience by hard work and not only by reading the books and literature during your 8 years of education. And that is where basically our mistakes come up. And that's where World Bank has started a program, Pani Bachao, Paisa Kamao. And that's where basically the industry is also coming in, because carbon units have not benefited the small farm holders. It came as a solution, but it has never benefited the small farm holders. But in this case, if you can produce more yield with the same water as compared to your neighbor, you should be rewarded. And that incentivization is coming from the industry, because industry is very sure that if the supply chain breaks, then they will have to expand the area. It will be more costly item for them. They may have to shift from Telangana to Rajasthan, which is not that easy. And that's where basically Pani Bachao, Paisa Kamao is coming up. And there are some international NGOs, I would not say in the open at the moment. But of course, I have no hesitation to tell that Solidaridad is working on this aspect for sugarcane in Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka. In Maharashtra, sugarcane area is only 4%. How much water it should consume? 60% of irrigation water is consumed by the sugarcane in Maharashtra. And that's the thing which we need to adopt, that it has to be science-driven, market-led, agro-ecoregion based farming with proper crops, proper fruits, proper vegetables has to come in. And that's where our challenge is. And agriculture is the only one thing we say, farmer, oh, purana hai yaar. When you go to superstore, you will not negotiate the price. But you will hassle for 50 paisas with that farmer. अरे यार 10 रुपए का क्यों दे रहे हो कोरिएंडर 8 रुपए का दे दो ना. That's what happens with us. And that's where basically the producer is not able to fix the price, the buyer fixes the price. And you will be surprised what you and I pay in the market, only 1/3 of that goes to the producer, 2/3 is taken by the intermediaries. And that has to change, and that's where basically the cooperative farming FPOs are coming up so that they can manage the situation. So that's the simple message, that small is beautiful. We should work in partnership with all the partners, whether it is extension, whether it is industry, whether it is corporate, whether it is the extension system, government system, and no one wants to work with the government.
Yeah.
Because
that is
so
a big
many
problem.
things.
Nobody wants to work with the government.
Yeah.
But I will cut you there, sir, because we are conscious of time as well. But listening to you, it's mesmerizing because of the experience that you bring in. But unfortunately, we are bound by time. Dr. Anant, and I'll just give you 3 minutes because we want to go to audience this time.
Is this working? Is this mic working?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll try and use the 3 minutes, 1 minute for where we began in my organization, 1 minute for what we've been doing, and 1 minute basically to throw open a challenge to everybody here, because I think that I don't really know the answer. So we started work in Hyderabad as academic researchers, but really seriously engaged with the communities. And so we started our work in a place called Dholakpur, which is the largest scrap market in the city. And it's a very unusual scrap market because unlike in Delhi, where each material flow ends up in a separate market, here everything comes to one place. Plastic comes here, metal comes here, used shoes come here, animal parts come here to be exported, raw hides come here, everything. And when we started looking at the older histories, they started in 1860s with partnerships between Chennai and Hyderabad. And it's an extremely complicated history that is tied up with the use of leather, the use of paper, the use of all kinds of materials across the world. So as geographers interested in the politics of this whole thing and in the economies of this story of global flows of materials was what we were interested in. But we were fundamentally interested in this because this area in 2009 had a water contamination that resulted in the death of 10 people and hospitalization of 1,000 people. And the diagnosis was that it happened because of all of the scrap market, but the truth actually was that it was fecal matter that contaminated the drinking water, and the people there were strong enough, sensible enough, intelligent enough to say that you're misdiagnosing it, right? And so we started working with those communities to figure out how they think, what do they think, how does their unit size actually function. We found that there are 600 registered tax-paying plastic scrap units and 300 of them, an additional 300 working on the curbside without any registration, right? It's like an entire factory operating in one municipal ward. And that's where our work began. Now, over the years, we went through many different kinds of phases of our work, and one of the most interesting things that we've been working on in the recent past is a program that we call Imagine Low Cost Action Lab, which is basically an idea that began in about 2000, in the year 2000, which is to try and see if we can find neighborhoods, places which are seen as wasted, places which are completely dumped with garbage and so on, and try and see if we can create stakes for local communities in those. In the municipal corporation's language, they're called garbage vulnerable point. There are about 1,000 or a little more than that across the city. They have actually GPS locations for that, but they don't know what to do with it. So what we have been doing is basically to try and work with those kinds of places, and we ran an international design competition with partners from Hyderabad and across the world, and about 450 teams, individuals participated in it. 55 entries came in, and here is a compendium of the 17 winning ideas. And what we're now trying to do is to take these ideas into actually implementation, right? And one of the things that we are actually discovering is that small is not just ugly, small is made into something ugly, right? Because nobody wants to touch it. No contractor wants to work with something which costs 10 lakh rupees. No government official wants to sign a check for 10 lakh rupees because it's too small, right? So we don't know how to do this because the procurement procedures are just not working. We don't know how to make the calculations for where to get the money from and so on. The only way we can make this happen is to find CSR money, local donations, contributions, etc., and get the actual permissions from the government. And the government is actually telling us that, look, we'll give you permissions, you find a way of making it work. You find a way of making it work. And one of the most important things is that nobody wants to pay for operations and maintenance. We'll give you money for building something at the most, but operations and maintenance, you figure it out. I mean, how do you build a school with a toilet and then say, get your water yourself, get your electricity yourself? Where will they get it from, right? Which is the reason why most schools suffer with their toilets, not because. I want to end this with one thing. One of the most interesting projects that we are working on right now is working with some of these small parks across the city, right? And we were thinking about what has been happening in the forest department. And what we are realizing is that all of these open public spaces are filled with extremely toxic waste, which is impossible to pick out. Everybody goes and gets drunk there, breaks beer bottles, and I don't know why people have to break beer bottles after they drink from it. And I don't know what the answer for that would be. I mean, can I offer them one extra beer bottle if they bring all the beer bottles that have been emptied? Is that the solution? I don't know. I'm just saying that behavior change is an extremely challenging thing, and I don't know how to connect that to business solutions.
I think what, some semblance into what Recycle is doing and what you are doing. But thank you so much for, summarizing it within 3 minutes. We have around 3 minutes left, 3 questions. Can we have, okay, I have 1, 2, and 3. Can you pass on the mic? Please be very, very brief and direct to the question.
Good afternoon. It's audible. Okay. I'm Padma Nandyal from Sampoon Zero Waste. We deal with the composting kit so that 60% of the waste is being composted at home. And I want to be very brief, Mr. Krishna and Mr. Anand. Why these glass bottles are not being taken by the kabadi walas?
Okay. Why these glass bottles are not being taken by the kabadi walas?
Because that is creating a lot of problem, and people are throwing in the waste bins, and they are broken, and waste pickers are getting injured. So I'm an entrepreneur as well as an environmental activist. So I keep propagating all this dry waste, wet waste separately. But ultimately, they say glass bottles are not being taken. Okay. Earlier they were taking, now they are not taking. I don't know the reason.
Question taken.
Thank you.
Next question, yes.
It's more of a little idea and a kind of an opinion exchange rather than a question. So, as respected Jayesh Ranjan sir was mentioning, in order to reach the 2047 low carbon emission, what are the interventions that can go faster? What are the low hanging fruits? So that was one of his thoughts. So I came up with a little idea. So in order to have,
I'm sorry. I definitely would love to hear the idea, but if we can have a question, that would be much better because we are running short of nothing else.
Okay. So it's I just want to know about the green procurement policy that comes under the SDG 12.7.1. So if we want to reach all the goals very quickly by 2047, whatever the green alternatives and sustainable products that people are coming up with, they need to be procured. So that is covered under SDG number 12.7.1. I would like to know how far has the green procurement policy come up to in the like the government procurement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Third question here.
Yeah, hi. My name is Surain from Rotary. See, basically everything you look at the business or any construction thing, approximately how much the carbon emission is being generated can be calculated. So why can't the government come up with a policy where wherever the construction is happening at a business, the equivalent of trees can be planted so that it can be compensated immediately. That's a localized solutions.
So it's a policy related question. Would anyone want to respond to the glass bottle by Kabadiwala?
Yeah, I can do, and then maybe he can add on. Glass, people do get glass. Definitely, beer bottles are collected. They are all beer companies do collect and then do recycling. That if it is a non-beer bottle, it is the reuse mechanism is still not there. So you'll have to collect the glass, break it, then do silica, and then again form it back into glass. It's a very expensive process, and one let's say a waste picker or a scrap dealer, like you said, if they have to pick, the value of one bottle will be not anywhere between 1.8 2.8 rupees.
It's not commercially viable.
Yeah, it's not viable. So if you take that and then do the transportation, put it in and then there is also breakage when you transport glass. So the overall the glass collection, transportation, recycling and everything is not it used to be a very attractive. It used to be because that glass collection is before plastic came in the 1970s and 80s, but glass existed much before that, where glass collection used to be a very common thing maybe for the last 70, 80 years. So now plastic is also competing with glass, and then collection and transportation glass is a challenge. I will not say glass is not collected at all, it definitely gets collected. But what type of glass, what is the end use of the glass, who is the buyer? There might be some research or something, document something, whatever is available. If I have, I will share with you.
Right.
No, but there is no polluter pay for glass currently. It is not there. It's there for other materials. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Let us.
Yeah, I'll respond to that, ma'am. Basically, there's no theoretical answer to this. What you're asking is a very valid question. It should be taken. Normatively, we all agree that it should be taken. But likewise, if you look at it, Tetra Paks, nobody wants to pick. Very simple, because Tetra Pak occupies a lot of volume, but when you crush it and weigh it, it comes down to very little, and the person who's picking it makes very little money, right? Same thing happens with glass. There was a market. It was actually giving decent returns, not great, but not terribly bad in terms of the comparison to other things. Now it's not, and that could be because of it's a very localized thing also. It doesn't happen everywhere. In some cities, in some locations at certain points of time, some things just become unviable. So
I can, ma'am.
We can discuss this in detail later. I just wanted to quickly respond to the question about policy. The challenge really is that we can create tools. Very often we become actually very good at making dashboards for everything, right? And so I think that it's not very difficult to create a dashboard. The problem often is that how do you implement it? How do you make sure that there's a certain mechanism that actually makes sure that something is actually used on the ground? And that's where the difficulty really is. And I think that very often in our country, in our situations, the problem is not so much with the text of the policy. It's the institutions which actually are incapable of doing anything with it. So we get good looking policy, but very little happening on the ground because we don't have the capacity for that. It can be done, sir, but what often happens is that the institutions are capable of compromising that process as well, right? So, for example, if you look at waste, electronics waste, You know what happens in that, right? I mean, you have a place called Bolakpur, which handles huge amounts of electronic waste as well. None of them has any license. They're working as sub-agents for somebody else. Somebody holds the certificate, but somebody else is doing the work. And the working conditions here are horrible. That's how it works. So the problem is, I'm saying that institutions have to be rectified, and that requires a lot of very careful work.
So I would suggest now let's take this discussion to lunch. We can eat and we can discuss. Let us not hold everyone between the thoughts and food. I hand it over to you, Jyoti.
As Mr. Ajay rightly said, we do have the panelist and we will not let you go until all the questions are answered, but not here, outside the seminar hall. Can I request Ms. Rupa to please join me on stage and say thank you and felicitate all our dear panelists and the moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks them for coming here. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Anand, thank you very much for your contribution and on the topics that you've spoken. You said a lot about the Dholakpur project. We've got a lot of learnings and insights on that. Thank you very much, Dr. Suhas Wani. You've given us some great liners like "Paisa jaisa pani beh raha hai, to pani bachao aur paisa kamao." And also we'd like to thank Mr. Sai Krishna, who very clearly told us that build a sustainable business model in which it's an interest of the community and the Gen now. I request for one picture opportunity with Ms. Rupa, the entire second panel group. And ladies and gentlemen, coming towards the conclusion, I, Anchor Jyoti Sukumar, once again thank each one of you, our dear esteemed speakers, our guests on behalf of JSW and the Times of India and our partners to being a part of this discussion and setting the tone for 12th edition of Earth Care Awards. You can log in to the link www.earthcareawards.com and the registrations are on. So if you would like to be just speaking with us next time, bringing up your project to the next level, then that's the platform for each one of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I request each one of us to please stand up. Give a round of applause to each one of you guys because you've been a fantastic audience this morning. And let's head and talk more on the lunch. This is Anchor Jyoti Sukumar signing off. I'll meet you very, very soon next time. Take care.
बाइट काम आता है ना, क्योंकि आपने जो इतना अच्छा काम किया तो सबको
हाँ माइक छोटा ले ले यार, ये तो अजीब लग रहा है, फोटो ले लो।
यहाँ पे ऐसे अच्छा